please.
A lot of stuff. Bad with
Present.
Mr. Birnbaum is absent. Mr. DeLeo?
Here.
Mr. DePortier?
Here.
Mr. Schmidt?
Here.
Mr. Sullivan?
Here.
Mr. Youngblood?
Here.
Notice of this meeting was provided to the Bernardsville News, Courier News, the Star Ledger, filed with the municipal clerk and posted on the municipal bulletin board on January 5th, 2017. Please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, moving on to presentations, we have Diane and Stephen Kramer here. Who've done a lot of work in the research on aircraft noise and flight patterns over Bernardsville. And I'll open up the floor to you.
Okay. We promise not to be as noisy as the jets. First, I'd like to thank the town council for putting us on the agenda and having us first so you can get rid of us. Also, I'd like to introduce with us this evening from Congressman Lance's office, John Malone, who's a field representative. John, thank you for coming. We have a number of people in the audience who have been working with us, and I guess more will filter in. I'm going to give out this beginning. There'll be a few things given out, but the first one is basically summaries of what has happened, what the problem is, what we're doing about it, why we seek your assistance, and I can think of no better person. I'm a loyal subordinate for 42 years to Diana Kramer.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having us, and we're going to pass this out. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. We made out these handouts, and I'm just going to go over the agenda. And obviously, please feel free to ask me any questions as, we go on. The first is we want to summarize the problem because, as we all know, it took me 3 months to really isolate the problem. I've been working on this personally since August 1, and so I just want to summarize it. We have a lot of data. I'm not presenting all of it to you, but I'll tell you what we have and what the results are, and we'll give you snapshots of it. We'll give you some screenshots. We're going to present a suggested solution, and we're going to ask what you could do to help us, and then we're going to ask the audience, members who want to make any comments, okay? So the problem is on page 1, and I'll just say on page 3, around August 1, I was sitting outside. It was so funny because actually we were going to my neighbor's party. Her name is Leah over there. So we were going over to her husband's 50th birthday party, and I noticed that there were planes so low, like 2,500 and really loud and frequent. And it was the first time. And actually the first thing I did was call Morristown Airport. And I spoke with them. And they said we were on a direct flight path, and it was a very, very narrow path from them. And we thought at first it was because of our president coming to his home in Bedminster. And that would have been great if it was, because then it would be over. But obviously it's not over. And actually the Port Authority also thought it could have been that. So on August 23rd, and I remember the day, it didn't end, and it was pretty much everyone had expected it would. So we have data that shows that these jets are flying over our houses. The biggest problem that we have is Newark Airport. That is I'm going to go over the data with you. The arrivals starting 2,400, so they go down to 2,400, and we have the data to show that pretty much up to 6,500. Departures are 3,500 and above. I will say that it is very devastating to us on a personal note because when we moved here, we bought our property in 1997, and it was a really big thing for us to move here, a very big thing. And I really love our home and everything, and it's been a very, very hard time for me personally to go with this because you don't have any peace outside anymore. When you have a conversation, sometimes you have to stop. you can't really have a nice conversation. And I guess, you could say, well, Diana, you don't have to go outside so much or sit outside, which is true, but we do love the outside, and we came here for that kind of environment. But even this, and we have people here also that will talk about it, even with the windows closed, you hear these planes, it's like whoosh, 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 and you hear it, even at night. So it is a difficult situation. Now, I'm talking Newark Airport. Even though we could have on any day 200 planes from Newark arriving and departing, which is 18 to 23% of the Newark arrivals and departures from Newark Airport. I'm not even talking about those planes that are 20,000 and above feet, or even if they're higher, lower than that, because JFK, LaGuardia, Morristown, Teterboro go over us too. And so basically you have about 200 of those planes and you could see them. But we're not really addressing that. So what have we done? Well, I've pretty much called everybody that you can think of. Leonard Lance's office, and we have a representative here, so I'm very grateful that you came. We've been working with Michael Taggart and John Byers, and we really, are grateful for that. We called up many, many people. You can imagine going to call the Port Authority. We got a lot of data from them, though. So we've spoken with the airports. The airports were very, very helpful. And we have a group called Stop Jet Noise. All right. Now, what the data shows, and I'll share with some snapshots on that, is that before I share it, I'm just going to give a little summary. We have a significant concentration of flights over 1.5 to 3 miles. And as I said before, it's about 18 to 23% of arrivals, mostly arrivals from the south. And many days we have over 175. So this is another thing. On many times, they're coming in at certain times of the day every 90 seconds. So it's zoom, 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 zoom every 90 seconds. Now, starting in October, the Port Authority said because of the wind changes and that kind of thing, you could have less traffic because they use runway 4 instead of 22L. So I'm going to show you some of the data that we have. So, yeah, I'm going to show these to them first. Here. So this, I'll just take one. So I have a few pieces, but the first piece I'm going to start with is the very first piece of data that the Port Authority gave us, not realizing that we were going to ask for a lot more. But what they did was they drew an imaginary gate, which is I have 1.5 and I have 3 miles. The one that they drew, if you look at the first page, is 1.5 miles, and our house is at the center, because they wanted to show us. If you turn to the next page, you'll see this page here. You'll see the departures and you'll see this is arrivals. Arrivals are red, okay, and you can see they go from like 2,500 to 6,500. Okay, so that's, and this shows you the arrival flight path. And then, I'm sorry.
One question.
Yes, of course.
So all this red is for what time period?
He gave, this was for 2 days in August.
2 days.
August.
8/5 through 8/6,
Right,
from 6 o'clock in the morning till
11 o'clock at
p.m.
night.
right, which includes the evening. Okay. The next page shows you the arrivals and departures. And you can see the departures are green because the departures are leaving and the arrivals are coming. So it's red and green. So this shows you a snapshot, and we have it by day though, so I'll share more with you. But this shows you a concentration of what we're talking about for the days that we have. Now, another thing that they sent us was, is this sheet here, which basically, you can see how narrow the arrival path is for our area. Now, the area that you have in front of you right now is a 3-mile area, okay? So when I say 3 miles, it's 1.5 each way. So if it's 1.5 miles to the left of us, 1.5 miles to the right of us, and that includes above and beyond. So
3-mile corridor, basically.
correct, thank you, Michael. So it's a 3-mile corridor, and it includes, you know, all of the houses that it goes before us and after us as well. So this is a view, and I will just say this. We have this for every day. I have it on Excel sheets by day that I have, and I certainly can give you the files for that and a link.
Did you run out of red and green ink?
I had to refill it several times. And then this, no, this one.
So this is a Thursday, and these two are Saturday and Sunday. Okay?
Yes.
So it doesn't consider Friday, where
Well,
ink found on Fridays would probably make it even worse.
Well, Friday and yeah, are the worst. Now, so you could see how narrow the corridor is, and you say, looking at this sheet, this is an incredible corridor. This doesn't go near Chatham, doesn't go to Madison, doesn't go to Mendham. It's a very, very, very narrow corridor where we are, you know, disproportionate. The other sheet that I'm going to give you is that this shows you this just is a blow up of the numbers. And we picked a typical day to give you, and the reason that we did that is because I didn't think you wanted 180 days of this. All right. Now, you might say, Diana, why did you ask for 180 days by day? And the reason that I did is the following. One, I wanted to see if there really was a difference between 2016 and 17. Now, they're saying there are not. And, you know, they're trying to show that there's no difference between 2016 and 17. Or even they're saying since 2008, there's no difference. So that's why I asked for it by day, because what happened is when they were giving us the information over a month, it was all, you know, you really couldn't see the distinctions.
When did you start noticing the difference? When you're here since 97?
August 1.
August 1.
That's when I
This
noticed.
year?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so before that, from 97 up until 2016, you don't remember anything like this?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. So, since they're saying, so what they're saying is there is no difference. And so what we're saying is, okay, we're not going to fight about the difference thing. We're not going to argue and go into that big hole of, you know, of that discussion. Our idea is, regardless if this is new or not, no private homeowners that are living in Bernardsville should have 18 to 23% of Newark Airport arrivals and departures. We just don't think, you know, that that's appropriate and that it should be spread out. And our solution is simple.
Is that 23% of the arrivals and 23% of the departures?
No, it's
Or
additive.
combined?
It's more arrivals, Michael.
Okay.
It's much more arrivals. That's the issue. The real problem is the
There's
arrivals.
approximately 500,000 arrivals and total arrivals and departures from Newark Airport every year, give or take a few thousand. We got that from the Port Authority also.
All this data is from the Port Authority, and they stand behind it. You know, that they what do you mean okay, any other data I have? Oh, okay, so this sheet shows, we didn't want to go through 2016 and give you all that, although we have it. We have here 2017, we have the dates, we have the flights, arrivals, the altitude and departures by day for you. And you could see as you go down that basically it's just Newark Airport, taking out the days when you had the real heavy rain in August. It's about 170 arrivals and departures per day over Newark Airport. And again, we're not including any other air traffic or, you know, anything else.
Is this an average altitude on this sheet?
Yes.
Yes, this is a
So
mean.
there's many that are below
2,500 to, that's what this,
and above, okay.
that's what this shows. This is the, this is
Just
the range.
trying to clarify
Yeah,
for everybody.
absolutely. This is the range. Of course, the Port Authority is going to give you the average and the mean, you know, because that's in their best interest to do so.
Yes.
They're saying there's no problem. You know, they're saying there's no problem, and they give you, and they basically give you all the standard things. It's safety, you know, there's no difference. All of a sudden, you're saying there's a difference. And, you know, you could say there is a difference. You could say that it's compressed or whatever, but I guess the feeling and our advice that I would say is to stay with the fact that nobody should be subject to this regardless if it's new or not, because if they take you down that hole, you know, you're going to spend a
So you're
year.
looking for a solution, basically.
Yes.
And what's your proposal?
Okay. So on
I
page
have a question.
6, yes.
If, let's assume, I'll pick a date, 2010,
Yes.
and let's say the flights, the amount of flights have stayed constant from 2010.
Yes.
It probably increased a little bit. So, if we didn't hear it then, am I to assume that these flight patterns that we're looking at now, I'll pick a town, I'll say it was over Livingston or Chatham, wherever, and now it's moved? Is that what your contention is, that it used to be over some other town or towns, and now it's concentrated more over Bernardsville? Because if you didn't hear it then, that's the only logical answer. So did they, when you did your research, did they give you any indication that yes, from time to time, we change areas to fly over for whatever reasons, flight patterns, FAA regulations, or maybe Chatham or Livingston had the same meeting we're having now and said, we hate this, let's get them to move it. You understand what I'm trying to say?
No, I totally understand what you're saying.
Okay.
But I cannot prove that, and they're not showing us evidence of that. What I think is possible,
Okay, sorry to interrupt you.
Sorry.
So you can't get something like this
From
from 2010 or 11 or 12?
I have.
But
and-
it shows the same?
Yeah, it does.
Well, that's unusual.
It does. It does. Now, here's what I think is possible that you don't see in this data, because this is very condensed, okay? Is that they took the highways, the airport highways, because don't forget, we have at least minimum 8 miles of airport highway. I mean, if you talk to Morristown Airport, they'll say at least you have 8 miles of airport, of highway.
Like corridor, you're
Like
saying?
a corridor, that you could spread them across. Now, they said, and I spoke with Brian Digman, who's an incredible pilot and does noise control for Morristown. They said that they're not using the 8 miles. So if you look at something like this, and it's very compressed like this,
Like you're saying 3 miles,
yeah,
they have another 5 miles that they can use.
absolutely. But here's the thing. They have another 20 miles they could use, Michael. The thing is that when you're looking at something like this, all the reds come together, all the greens come together, and you know how it is when you're looking at data and all the dots mingle. On a sheet like this, it would be really impossible to say. I personally think that it's condensed. There's no question they're not using the 8 miles. I mean, I've been told that. But I could see when they produce these sheets that it doesn't show that degree of fineness.
So why would they want to condense it? Maybe to save fuel? So they're
No,
not so
because
spread out?
actually, I'll show you on the computer, the
tighten
web
it up?
tracks, they have to go out of their way to go over our houses. They have to literally go out of their way. If I show you the web tracker, which I have,
The other thing too, maybe, is they want to keep them close to one another, so when they go up to the north and they turn into Newark, they're one after another.
Okay.
It's every 90
But
seconds.
if that were the case, it would have always been as noisy as it is now.
Nobody
I'm
complained.
trying to find out when it changed and why
Yeah,
I don't have data to
exactly.
show that the patterns have changed.
Right, right.
You understand?
Yep.
Yeah, but see, here's the issue with that. I'll be honest with you, and this is really true. I guess for me, I'm looking for a solution as opposed to, you could spend a year fighting with them. If you look at this web tracker, and you could see how the planes are, okay?
This web tracker, which you can all have on your...
Yes, flight tracker,
Yes.
all those, they are.
Yeah,
You
but
can
this
see what all
shows
the planes
you-
are
this
every
shows
second
you-
over your...
I used to track my wife coming home. Then I knew when to
Yeah, but
pick her up
this
at
one
the
is,
airport.
this one is good though. This shows you by plane. Okay, so it's loading the data.
That didn't
But when
buy
it
it.
loads,
It was really
you
just
see all the planes.
I think what bolsters your case is there was an article in Associated Press about 45 minutes ago where it said the Federal Aviation Administration started revising flight plans and procedures around the United States in 2014 under its air traffic control modernization plan called NextGen.
Yes.
The new procedures use more precise satellite-based navigation that saves time, increases the number of planes in the airports in service, and reduces fuel burn and emissions. It also says that the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia on August 29th agreed with their assessment that the FAA was arbitrary and capricious in revising flight procedures. FAA officials asked for an extension, and the court this month pushed the petition deadline to November 16th. So maybe that's when, 14, that's when they started compressing everything instead of being spread out. It started coming in, and then you really started to notice it.
It's possible, but see,
I'm just,
It's possible.
it's a theory, it's
Yeah.
not
It's a
proven,
theory.
but to get that information, you would probably have to really push the FAA to come clean.
Well, here's the thing. What we're trying to push the FAA is to spread it out.
Spread it out.
And raise the
You're not looking to lay blame, you're looking for solutions, I understand.
Michael,
No,
look.
that's nowhere.
Yes.
Okay,
LaGuardia's
you can
here.
put your house on this.
LaGuardia's here.
You can put your house right on here, and you can see every plane going over your house. It's a very useful website.
It's a 15-minute delay for security.
It's a 15-minute delay for security.
Right.
So, you could pass that around because it's set up to the internet. So, on page 6, we're saying, regardless if this is a recent development or not, private homeowners should not be subject to this 18 to 23% at the arrivals of 2,400 to 6,500 and departures 500 and above. One of the big things is we're 31 miles from the airport, which is a big deal. And so, we feel like we're an extension. They actually have to go out of their way. So here's our current status on page 7. We have asked our Congressman Leonard Lance, to host a meeting with us in the FAA, and we're waiting for a date. And the reason for that is, it's a very difficult thing if you don't have your congressman on your side. I mean, that is a big deal. We submitted all the information to Stephen Jones, FAA. We put together a book for him, but he's a senior advisor, and he's giving all the information to the technical people, he says. But what we really try and do is to meet with our congressman and the FAA. And secondly, they asked us, Stephen Jones, the liaison with the FAA, asked us to go to the Newark Airport Roundtable, and as I discussed with Kevin, I mean, that's really a bureaucratic process. But we followed the process. We said, okay, we'll do it. We will ask to be on the agenda.
And they put you on the agenda.
No, they did not. What they did was they sent me an email today, Dear Diana Kramer with a C, living in Basking Ridge, New Jersey. So how can I expect somebody to read hundreds of pages of data, which is what we have. We literally have hundreds of pages of data, colors, all this. If they can't even read, they ask an address. I mean, and then they say, and Stephen, this is true, they say, oh, well, we'll present it for you, possibly. and come up with a solution. So what I'm saying is, it has come clear to us that we have to work with our congressman's office, because we're just pretty much getting the runaround with that when we get emails. Oh, and they didn't even know what date the meeting was. So that was very disheartening to me after doing all this work and getting back somebody, how could somebody read the data if they can't even read an email?
So if Representative Lance was able to get you on the docket for the agenda,
Yes.
how long would it take them, roughly to review this information and come back with some kind of milestone, schedule saying, here's what we've seen,
Right.
and potentially we're working on a solution? I mean, can we put milestones in there so we don't get a runaround type of thing? I mean, right now, it seems as though, you've done all this work, you sent it in to the right people, and they're kind of like pushing you off. Can we get dates in there to say, we expect, an answer by end of November? And you know what, if it's off a couple days or a week or whatever, you understand that. But if it's way off, they're just pushing you off to the side.
And echoing off of Mike here, how can we support you?
I mean, what can we do
from the
for
governing body here?
Lance and everything else to push this along?
I think that the best course of action, if the council puts forward a letter to the congressman that he can attach to the
Okay.
FAA administrator, I think that's a potential course of action. Our specialist in Washington DC, Michael Taggart, I know he's running traps on this issue right now and working with the FAA and trying to get in touch with the appropriate party as to move this issue along to get it in front of the decision makers. So that's something we're in the process of doing.
Yes.
And I think if the council can put forward a letter unanimously to the congressman, I think that only helps.
I mean, I guess if you could let them know that we're not looking to lay blame, we're just looking for some kind of a solution, more equitable,
Spread the love.
spread the love a little. Yeah, exactly. Good term. Because who knows,
Instead of 23%, make it 10, something like that, like not so concentrated.
Well, I think it's more than just the amount, sorry, I didn't do that, because sometimes it's never, and I have to thank Diana for being so comprehensive, because I clearly want to.
Can you come up, sir?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll just add one thing. I think it's not just the amount, right?
Hold
It's
on.
really the
Name and address.
Mr.
Doug
Solomon.
Solomon.
Doug
from
Solomon,
Charlotte.
yes.
And I want to thank Diana for being so comprehensive. Clearly, we should hire her as like defense or prosecuting attorney.
Executioner.
Yeah, well, that says it all. Listen, I'm probably the guilty user of Newark Airport because I've flown over 1 million miles on multiple airports, on multiple airlines, I should add. So, point being, I don't think it's just the quantum, right? It's the height that we're talking about, right? Because I think, and it's not just because we live in Bernardsville, even though, yes, we pay way too much taxes. It's really just about, none of us paid to be extension terminal, runway D in Newark Airport, or terminal D, if you will. So I think it's the height as well, right? Because I think 2,500 to 6,500 feet over really any residential house, by definition, if you buy a house within 5 minutes of Newark Airport, you expect air traffic. And I don't think anybody that's a reasonable person doesn't expect air traffic if you live within 30 miles of an airport, right? Part of the convenience of living in the town is having convenient access to the airport. But the height, I will tell you, I never noticed this before, and I'm the newest house on our street. We built our house, I moved in 2008. So I never noticed this problem. I always noticed planes, but not at that height. And I would tell you that the height has definitely gotten lower. And the day I noticed actually was when Diana called and said, hey, have you noticed more planes? And I said, not really. I was outside washing my car and they were literally going over the house every 90 seconds. And literally, one after another, exact same pattern, extremely noticeable. And so, is that every day? No, I mean, it's definitely lessened actually as we've gotten into October, so consistent with what the folks from the FAA and others have provided to the Kramers. But that was way beyond what any of us would expect living 30 plus minutes from the airport, and certainly at that height. So, if they were at 40,000 feet, nobody's going to notice, right? But if they're at 2,500 or 6,500 feet, that's pretty close. I mean, when you see a 747 flying over your house at that height, we're not talking about a Piper Cup. We're talking about a large jet. So anyway, that's all I wanted to add.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any? I'm sorry. I notice it quite a bit because occasionally I'm outside trying to have conversations on the phone and had to go in as well. And I'm pretty sure that happened well before the date that you talked about. and they're in a concentration. But the curious thing is how many, I mean, really large planes have been cruising in at a very low altitude.
Yeah.
That seems surprising. I mean, we do have a pretty active corridor for lots of aircraft because they use 287 as a line of sight, and if you're going to Morristown or other local airports, they're using that. So I guess they're restricted below 2,500 feet in this area. I don't really know since I'm not a pilot, but a large aircraft at that height is just incredibly low. And since they're on approach, I mean, I think on approach from the flying I've done, you're up pretty far until you get closer to the airport. Have they given you any explanation of that at all? Or
Right.
the height issues?
No, the height issues with you, as a matter of fact, it's very interesting you say that because, even when I was talking to the Port Authority, one of the folks said, all the flight restrictions with our president are gone. It's possible some of the altitude that if things are lower. But then, of course, they took back that statement. But you never know why they took it back.
They should run higher because he's a lot lower. He goes over the house of Marine One.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, my whole house shakes when I come over.
All three of them.
Three helicopters.
Yep. Three of them.
All right, so looking at page 9.
Yes.
All right, so you have a letter of
So,
support?
in terms of page 9, where we ask, and also, I have any audience members that want to make any comments, feel free to do so. What we would like to do, obviously, John, is ask our congressman, for a meeting with the FAA, because it's so difficult an issue. And number 2, we have drafted a letter of support, which obviously you can change. That could be sent to Congressman Lance, right? And that's what we're asking. And then we're going to, after today's meeting, talk and see if anybody's interested to be a liaison with us, with the council. And that would be great. And I just, want to say, do you have any questions or comments for me before I let anybody else speak? I just want to thank you very, very much for your attention. And this is a very special town to us. We really love it here. I will say that. And this is really the first issue that we had. So we really love it here. And we're very grateful to all of you for listening and to you to come. So if anybody else wants to come, thank you so much.
We want to thank you for all your work and everything. And ironically, we were on the phone about a week ago. I was coming out of ShopRite, and while we were on the phone, I looked up and there was a plane flying overhead. And by the time I got to the intersection of Mount Airy, there was another plane coming over, and it was heading right towards your house. So I go, but you're absolutely correct, and I do support your efforts.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having
Thank you.
your neighbors over the house and myself.
Thank you.
And all of you are most welcome to drop by. We're at Charlotte Hill. And we really mean that, because,
Thanks, Michael.
we're going to be home, and you can stay out in the back.
And have a wine,
Yes.
which you'll need.
Have an adult beverage. And earplugs. And if you don't hear them, we'll give you 2 glasses of wine.
So, in terms of Lance's office, what I heard you say is, you feel right now the best course of action for us is a letter of support? Is there anything else that you need?
I think as of right now, that would probably help get the ball rolling as far as getting in touch with the appropriate decision makers. The congressman obviously will get a report from me tomorrow on this meeting, as well as our chief of staff and Michael Taggart, who really specializes in this. But I think as soon as that you can get that letter to our office.
Can we get his information so we could copy both Senator Lance and Mr. Taggart on this letter?
Of course.
That would be great. Okay, you got it,
Yeah,
that's
I
fine.
have.
Because I only see the FAA, Steve
Yeah,
Jones on
no,
it.
I'll do, yeah. I think that would be really great because, in speaking with Mr. Byers, he felt, to speak with Stephen Jones and to go to the round table, but obviously we were blown off with the round table, even though we were trying to be good citizens. So we really need that support, just because the FAA is,
Could be there forever.
And Jack, you have a copy of the letter also, so.
I do, I have no
Yes.
objection to it. I guess Mr. Malone's suggestion is to address it to Congressman Lance.
Please.
With a copy to
All right.
the FAA rather than address
Vice
it to the
versa.
FAA.
And I think we can move forward on that immediately. So, we draft something, Anthony, copy this on our letterhead, sign it immediately and get it out. But again, I want to thank you for your work.
Thank you.
And concern for the community, it's very
Thank you.
appreciated.
Thank you very much.
And
Thank
Jack,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Jack, this
Thank you,
letter,
Steve.
no,
Thank
no
you.
issues in terms of any of the verbiage?
Nope. I can't vouch for the facts. They certainly was that.
Thank you.
Right.
I thank Congressman Lance's office, for participating this evening and supporting us and our efforts here. I want to thank you for coming out. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, permission to review that letter before it's sent?
Yes, yeah, Jack has a copy, yes, yes. You have a copy also. Very good, thank
Oh,
you.
it's just gonna be verbatim in that, or we? We'll look at it. I think, yeah, there's things inside I don't agree.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I
Hi.
appreciate your
Sure.
response. I just wanted to get one quick comment in support also. My name is Karen LaRosa. We had just purchased that 10 Charlotte Hill Drive in Bernardsville. And we met with a bunch of neighbors, new to move into the neighborhood. And definitely all along the area from Charles Street, Charlotte Hill, some people in Basking Ridge, Wisteria Way, all around, there were constant stories. How much lower, all of a sudden it's louder. The pictures they noticed are becoming crooked because of the vibrations. Somebody noticed a little silt residue that's starting to collect outside, just recently that they had not noticed before. And so I just wanted to add my support to that and say thank you. And there's definitely several community members who are concerned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And welcome to Bernardsville also, yes. Anyone else on the issue before we move forward with the agenda?
Just remind Mr. Solomon that we are the third lowest taxed town in
Yeah, okay,
Sussex
yes,
County.
it's all right, yes.
We're the third lowest.
Paul, do you have anything?
No, I mean, just, I hear it, it's real, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for being in attendance this evening, thank you. And again, thank the Congressman's office and the Kramer family.
Thank you for all the data.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Took stock and ready.
You don't just hear it from the outside, you hear it also when you're inside the house.
Yep, can you just state your name for the clerk, so?
Yes. Sarah
Record. Thank you.
Newscombs at 16 Charlotte Hill, and we've been here in Bernardsville for about 12 years, and I really did notice it. It's been, except this year has been, the summer was really bad. When you go out, you hear it, when you're inside, you hear it. And I hear it more because both my girls being med school, they're studying all the time, and they said, Mom, it's like, so they have to wear like noise protection in their ears because they can't concentrate after a while, so it's just not outside, it's coming also inside.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for coming this evening, thank you. Anyone else? Before we move to the agenda? Thank you.
I'll just
Yes, sir.
add my name and complaint to the record. My name's David Yale. I live at 1 Charlotte Hill Drive. And I think the Kramers did an incredible job of pushing this ahead with the research they've done to back up what we all see and we all hear and we all feel every single day. And you can look at the numbers, you can look at the charts, but if you came to our neighborhood and experienced, like I do, walking my dog for a 15-minute period up and down the block and have 10 to 12 planes going over your head in different patterns at one time, it's just incredible to experience. And you won't really understand what we're dealing with until you or someone from the FAA actually experiences it as we do on the ground. And that gives you a whole different perspective. So thank you for the time and hearing our case and supporting our cause.
What's the best time of day to catch it?
Anytime.
Fridays.
So I'll put on the record, Paul said like 5 Charlotte Hill. So just so it's on the record, you have more folks on this. But it is, I've been here 5 years. And I've noticed in the 5 years I've been here, the town has just been doing some amazing things improving. The way the town hall looks now, fixing the Claremont steps, the roads that are being repaved, and the continued progress. Don't let this be the fly in the ointment that takes us down. Right? It is that noticeable. And I think Diana's fairness in her request is, hey, can we just disperse it? share the wealth.
Yeah.
And then we have to take a look at the altitude, because it is noticeable they are coming in at a lower altitude. So, thank you very much for your help and support on this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out this evening. Thank you. Diane, thank you, and Steve also. Thank you. Congressman Wilkes. All right, approval of minutes. On September 25th, 2017, Mr. Sullivan was absent. October 10th, 2017, and October 16th. Mr. Deportaire, Mr. Schmidt, and Mr. Sullivan were absent. Any alteration or changes to the minutes?
Yes, on the October 16th minutes, Anthony, you have the meeting starting at 7 PM, and it started at 8 AM.
Anyone else? All right, seeing none, with the correction cited by Mr. Youngblood, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Youngblood. A second. Second by Mr. DeLeo. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay, the ayes have it. All right, open session. At this point in the meeting, Mayor and council welcome comments from any member of the public to help facilitate an orderly meeting and permit the opportunity for anyone who wishes to be heard. Speakers shall limit their comments to 5 minutes. If reading from a prepared statement, please provide a copy and email a copy to the clerk's office after making your comments, so it may be properly reflected in the minutes. Anyone from the public? I see you smiling. Come on up. How are you? Good evening. How are you?
My name is Catherine Ferrante, and I am in 3rd grade at Bedwell. I started going to the library story time 6 years ago. My favorite part of the library is checking out all the books. We also like going to Sunday science programs and fun activities during our school breaks. My brother Alex, who is in 6th grade, likes going to pre-teen community service nights. I hope to go to them too when I am in 5th grade. So keep our library alive.
And you guys actually had a fundraiser, right, at the fishing derby, so, thank you for,
Her
doing that.
Brownie Troop did a fundraiser, bake sale at the fishing derby, and then they are hoping to do another one, on election night outside the library, another bake sale to raise some funds. So obviously, my name is Annie Ferrante, I live on Mullins Lane, and, obviously our family is passionate about the library, and just want to encourage everyone to continue supporting it. It's such a great resource to our town and to all the residents. And as a realtor in town, I know that a lot of buyers look for walkable entertainment and community hubs, so to speak, and I really feel like our library provides both of those things. It's a meeting place for residents, young and old, so just throwing in our support.
Well, thank you for your kind comments this evening.
Thank
and your
you.
input to the community and your fundraisers that you're running, so
Thank you
we
for giving us
appreciate
the
everything.
opportunity.
No, thank you. Sir?
My name is Harvey Goldberg. I'm on the agenda at a later
Yes, sir.
time.
Yes.
But if it's possible, I didn't know that you had an open session.
Sure, you can,
So I can
since
talk
you're on the
now,
agenda, you can
won't
speak
have to
now,
deal with
yes.
me later.
And Mr. Goldberg's a property owner in Bernardsville. Has some
Okay,
parking
I don't know if
concerns.
I can raise this up, probably not.
That's all right, it'll pick up
Okay.
anyway, yeah.
My name is Harvey Goldberg. I live in 19 Skyline Drive in Warren. I've been a property owner since 1983 in Bernardsville. I'm the president of the Olcott Square Condominium Association, which was established in 1983. Our members include property owners from Fortis Fitness in the downtown, all the way around to the dress shop next to the nail salon. We have 8 members, 8 storefronts, including the cinema. It's our property. What I'm here to talk about is parking. Parking has been a problem in this town forever, and mostly as a result of inadequate parking when the properties in the downtown were originally developed, especially right in the center of town. Unfortunately, parking has always been used as leverage. Every time a change of use has been brought to the city, to the council over the years, and those people, tenants, or businesses that have come before the council have always been required to buy parking permits to park in the Ammerman lot, and it's almost like tribute to the town. It's really not fair, and to give you a perfect example of why, Sete, which probably all of you know, probably all of you have eaten there, it's one of the best restaurants in the area, as well as the town. I think it's like number 5 in the state. We have a gem in that property. That's a tenant of ours. When they changed the use 6 years ago and it became a restaurant rather than a gift shop, which it had been before, they were required to buy 5 decals for the Ammerman lot. At the time, I think it was $50, then it went to $100, and now it's $200 per decal. And for those 5 parking permits, it was supposed to, the purpose of it was to enable the employees, because of restaurant use would be more intensive employee use, and his employees would have to park elsewhere, because it wouldn't have been the same if it was a gift shop. The owner would be there, maybe one employee. This way he's got a restaurant, he supposedly has more employees. Well, it turns out that all of his employees for the last 6 years walk to work. None of them have a car. He tells me that he goes every year, pays his $1,000 for parking, and doesn't even pick up the permits because none of them have a car. It's just I don't know how you want to describe it, but it's just not right, okay? Let's call it what it is. It's just not right. He should not have to pay for parking decals. There should be some test. How many employees do you have? What's your use? Will they have cars? Do they actually need to park? I mean, he should not have to pay for these decals. I'm here on his behalf, as well as the other members of our association who have been made to buy these decals, who don't use them, who don't need them. They don't have employees and those, I got a list of the businesses that are required to have these decals. And some of the businesses in town that really should have these decals are not even on the list. They don't, either they're not required to have them, but they certainly have a whole lot more employees, and probably more employees that actually do park. The cinema, for instance. Cinema has no decals. Been grandfathered, I guess, forever. They got a lot of employees. They all park. They all come with cars. But Sete is not in that situation, and it shouldn't have to be penalized like this. In my opinion, pay $1,000 for parking decals. What I'm asking for here is relief for the parking situation. If the town is not going to build some kind of a structure to accommodate the required parking that's needed in the town, which has always been needed in the town. I've been waiting for 35 years for the town to step up like other towns, you know, that have parking structures and build something. I mean, I offered councils many, many years ago an opportunity to take over the back parking lot and use it as part of a multi-tier structure, but, you know, it never came to pass. So I don't know what else you would like to ask me about it. But
Would the property owners be interested in putting up money for a parking garage structure like in Sumner and any of those areas? I mean, it serves those businesses.
Well, I hate to say this, you've probably heard it many times, but what are our property taxes going for? We don't have kids in the school system. The entire downtown pays school taxes, and we get nothing for it. We pay property taxes, and we get limited service. We really don't get the equivalent of what our property taxes go to.
And they're much lower, though.
That's not unique to Bernardsville. I mean,
I'm not saying it's unique, but other towns do provide parking for. I mean, Summit builds parking garages. They're not asking the owners.
It's a much larger town than Bernardsville.
Well,
They have
okay.
a larger budget than we do.
But you get $12,000 a year just from the 16 businesses that are buying these decals in the Ammerman lot, just the Ammerman lot. Now, the reason I asked to talk now is because you're going to talk about fees for the parking lots. That's part of the agenda, is the ordinance for the parking fees tonight.
So has the owner from SETA ever mentioned to whoever they purchased the tickets, or have they ever gone back to the planning
Oh, yeah.
board and
They
said?
would have to go back to
"Listen,
the planning
planning
board, because that was
they're the
their
ones that
agreement.
set
They
the number."
agreed to pay for those spots, and I believe I was on the planning board when it came up because they weren't buying them for a few years, and a letter was sent to them. When it was, I think it was, you remember it, Anthony.
Yeah, anytime people come in, we would tell him to go to the planning board and get that resolution changed, so he doesn't have to, he's not required to buy the minimum.
Get the relief, yes.
Right. But-
So,
and for the
That
past
was
couple
a
years,
deal
he
he entered into.
right.
And at first, he wasn't buying them, which is water under the bridge. But when those laws and those ordinances were enforced, that's when he's starting to, he's feeling it, he knows it now.
I'd like to ask some question about, I think you're pointing out an important issue. I'm not sure how it works in other towns. I think if they have employees, they're required not to park in the public parking spaces, and they usually have permits available for those employees. I'm not sure if they force them to buy them. How would we know who actually has employees who are driving and who aren't? Because, one of the issues
It's a good question.
the way it's done now is so that you don't have to worry about enforceability. You only have to enforce the people who are paying for the, those spots. How do we know otherwise?
Okay, who would is this the right body to ask for decals for the employees for our group without having to pay that fee?
If you
Is that a
want relief, you
possibility?
would have to go to the
Planning
planning board.
board.
Because
Okay.
they set, how many,
Correct, Jack?
how many,
That's correct. Pursuant to the ordinance,
Yeah.
it requires substitute parking in public lots. if you don't
Because
have
it's
lots.
part of a signed agreement that they had with the borough
It
through
was
the
one of the
planning
conditions
board.
of the site plan, I'm sure.
Yes.
But how would you, again, back to the original question, how do we know who is driving and who isn't?
Well, we know who, I mean, all the members, all the owners know whose car belongs to
Are they gonna
who.
go forward if they hire somebody new and now they're driving to work? How are you gonna know that? How are they gonna provide for the off-site parking, which is the reason why we're doing it? So that the merchants have
Parking in
more
front.
parking available for their
Right.
people that are,
Well, it has to be, it's self-policing. I
And
mean,
that would come with enforcement
if a business has 4 employees,
Yeah.
they know what their employees are driving. They know, I mean, you see these cars in the lot every single day. They're there all day. You know they're not customers.
well, they might be in front of the street or moving from side to side, we just don't know.
Yeah, well, the police know. They've gotten tickets too. That's the other complaint that my members have, is that, they can't find a space to park in their own lot because between other employees from other businesses and customers, they don't have a place to park when they come in either late or they leave and they come back. So they park on the street, they forget the car's on the street, after 2 hours they're getting a ticket. So, it's a situation that shouldn't be.
Or don't they park in paid off-site if they?
Yeah, the Ammerman lot is never full.
Well, that's the other thing I was going to say, is there are 7 cars in there now. So, are those cars paying a decal, a permit?
There's two
Or are
sides
they
of the lot.
just
There's two sides of the lot.
two
Permit and not permit.
two
Shopper-
sides of the lot?
Shopper and non-shopper.
Okay, well, they're not shopping because nothing's open now. So
Restaurants are open.
they live in the neighborhood. They've got to be residents parking there.
Again, we don't know the details. I asked you,
Okay.
self-policing and self-registering is a great idea, but I'm
Never
not sure
works. Never
it's
works.
a very effective way to do
Well, we had our annual meeting for the condo association, and of the 5 owners that were there, 3 of them were complaining about parking. Asked me to make a presentation, talk about the situation. Like I said, it's always been a problem. Going back, I opened a business here in 1979. and I ran that for 10 years. There wasn't a customer that would come in and didn't complain they couldn't find a place to park. Now, they managed to find something because they came in and they shopped. So, you know, they found a place, but who knows, they had to circle the block twice, I don't know. The Ammerman lot has issues. It has lighting issues, okay? It's not well lit. And the walking from the center to the lot, when it gets dark, is a problem. Now, I just went through the town, and there are 3 streetlights that are still not working. I personally had called after our meeting in town to call Public Works, and they told me that those lights would be fixed.
Public Works, the police department, usually.
Well, I called both, because they told me to, I called the police
How long
department.
was that?
What's that?
How long ago was that?
About a week and a half ago.
And where are the lights?
The lights are in the center of town. There are 3 streetlights that are non-functioning. There were a lot more. There were at least double that, right around the traffic light in the circle or on Olcott Square.
You know anything about lights being out, John?
There has been a couple of issues with that. It's a short or something. Our electricians looked at it several times.
But they're still not fixed.
I don't know that for a fact.
We came in tonight, we'll go all around. So do you mean the ornamental lights, or do you mean?
No, it was pitch black when we came, okay? We got here at 7:15. It was dark tonight. I counted 3 street lights that were,
I came in about 6:45.
are they on a timer?
They're not, they're on a photo cell.
Then,
And they
gotta
were
check.
on, because tonight they're actually manually overridden. Just because we've been told there's so many problems, I thought someone was messing with them.
Well, I was amazed that they weren't all on. That's why I'm telling you. I just drove through, and if you want to drive back out, and see.
Yeah, we've been trying to identify what the issue is.
Okay.
It seems to be intermittent.
Okay.
And we've had electricians work on it, the police are reporting it when it's out, and so we're trying to find out what the
Okay.
issue is. But it's our ornamental lights.
Right on the triangle.
Yeah.
There's one that that's out.
Yeah.
And I counted 2 others, so.
We're trying to identify what's going on.
Okay.
We overrid everything, the timers and everything, to keep them on tonight, and see if we can find out what's going on.
So, the Ammerman lot is not that far to walk for either employees or for customers. It just needs to be better signage, better lighting, more, nicer.
Sure.
But it shouldn't be penalizing the merchants for $200 a pop for a decal that many of them don't need.
I think that's really important, because that's how you're out, first of all, how to get it done if everybody wants to get it done. And second is how to do the administration of people that are working and driving to work. Because that's not quite so easy as something.
Well, so what you're telling me is that this is the wrong place to be bringing this. I got to go to a planning
For
board
the
meeting.
agreements that said they entered in with the planning
Right,
board when they
right,
opened up, they
right.
would have to go there and get a relief and say, hey, only one person in the restaurant's driving, everybody else walks to work.
Right, we set the ordinance
Yeah.
that establish, some of the cost structures, but in terms of an individual business and what their requirements are, that was structured through the planning board. We're an autonomous organization, so we can't tell them what to do.
I'm not so sure about that. I think if we said that, we only charge for permits for people that actually are driving to work, I think that's something that we're allowed to do. They can say they need X number for the zoning, but it doesn't mean that some people aren't actually driving, that you have to charge them for a permit. It's kind of ludicrous. I think it's important that we know about it, and that maybe there is a way to address it.
It equates to $1 a day per vehicle. That's what it comes down to during working.
But only if the vehicle's there, and they don't have employees that are driving. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's
And you're
something they're gonna have to come up to the planning board with. They came up to that agreement somehow.
They were,
I don't know.
It was
Well, that was because
Coercion.
of the use. That was because of the use.
Really?
I don't like using those
No, it's-
terms.
but I don't know what
That's
other term to
unseemly. You know, if it was coercion, they should have got a lawyer and went after them right
Well,
away.
I think
I don't like using the term.
Well-
it's a reasonable assumption that we're going to drive to work, okay? Because so many people
Right.
do, this is New Jersey.
And it was
after all.
agreed upon by both parties, they signed on the dotted line.
But it was based on people having a car. I don't think the planning board intended for permits to be issued.
I don't think
for
the people
that
on the
didn't drive.
planning board are coercive, that's all.
No, they're not coercive. I'm sure they're not.
I'd like to find another word to use.
Cool. I'm okay with it. It was just a bad choice, I'm
Let me-
okay.
Let me just say, I've been through many planning board meetings over the years. I've been through many of these meetings over the years. You know, I don't recognize a lot of you, and you probably don't recognize me, because I haven't been here in many years, but for a long time, maybe the first 25 years that I was here in the town, I was at a lot of meetings. Different council, different planning board, you know. But, you know, there was a council at one time who finally agreed that punishing merchants for the fact that they were opening a business where they were underserved by parking was wrong. I mean, and maybe you can think about that. Because if a business comes into town, it's the lifeblood of this town. Mastro's going out of business. It's a key business in this town. It's going to be hard to replace them. Everybody likes going shopping in the town. The town survives from local residents, and it's a symbiotic relationship. The residents like having the shops in the town to go to, and they are loyal customers. We all like that. We like that relationship. We don't want to lose that relationship. But when a business comes before a planning board, they shouldn't use the fact that they have insufficient parking. There's no way to change that. If the movie theater were to go out of business tomorrow and a new business wanted to come into that space, what are you going to tell them? That space demands 150 parking spaces. There are 15 behind the building. You can't magically make the 15 spaces into 150. You don't seem to have the wherewithal to build a parking structure like other towns and not require we'll give you the land that our 15 spaces are on, and if you'll put up a parking structure. I think the guy next to me, where it used to be, it's now Mediterranean Tile, that building, I've known him for as long as I've been in this town. He would probably donate his parking lot to that kind of use. I know you own the parking lot or the land by the post office. You could do an amazing parking structure, at least 2 or 3 stories, and add another 100 spaces to that whole back area by Mill Street, and you wouldn't even see it from the road. They would all, because of the way it goes down from the street, it would be wonderful. You would have the land donated, you own the parking lot for the post office. It would be, I've thought about that idea for many, many years, and waiting for some council to say, we should do that. We need that. It never happened.
We had some ideas.
Yes.
2 years ago to
yes.
do something like that, but we're in the middle of an infrastructure improvement because some of these roads, especially like the parking lot here for the borough,
Right.
was never touched for 29 years. So in order to keep taxes at a reasonable level, we're the 3rd lowest in the county, I'll say that again. We're trying to go and hit different areas one by one.
Okay.
A necessity infrastructure. If you're willing to do that, there's no reason why we can't entertain the idea. But we just got finished paying, I believe, Ralph, what, $3 to $5 million for all that work we did in the middle of town.
So
All the sidewalks, all the lights.
You're saying that cost $3.5 million?
What was it?
I thought the sidewalks were $250,000.
No, I don't think so.
$1 million?
A lot more than that.
How much?
It had to be at least 3.
you're all for
Well, it doesn't matter one way or another. That's just getting paid right now, working out there. I know we remove the snow in that area, we always do that kind of work. And normally, it's property owners that do it. I mean, I live on 202, I remove my snow, I weed everything, I do everything. They're asking us to weed in front of the buildings now, and it's their property.
Who's asking you?
There's been rumbles in the bubble and some other places that the weeds are growing all over the place.
Well, our
If they're
members
gonna
got a
get the
letter.
town to do it,
No.
I would love them to pull
I know.
weeds at my house.
I will tell you what, we get a number of phone calls from merchants too, about my neighbor next door is parking on the street, and then all of a sudden, they park and they get a ticket, and they're like, we're picking on them. Well, no, we're not picking on them.
Yeah, then we go after the police, and the poor police, they're in the middle
It
of
goes back and
things.
forth.
They
It goes back and forth.
Yeah,
So-
I'm not
so
suggesting
that's
that
an
there's
easy
any,
And that's what we're
picking
talking
on
about,
anybody.
parking.
I'm not
And we're
saying
not-
that
and we're not-
anybody's
and that's-
picking
we're not
on
doing it. If-
our
if
members.
there's a violation, there's a violation, and that's it.
I'm just saying it's an issue that needs to be addressed.
We are more than willing to listen to people that want to donate property to make the town better. We're all about that, making the town better. For the businesses and everybody, like you said, it's
Okay.
important to the town. But we have some priorities right now. We really do need these roads fixed that haven't been done for a long
Since we don't have a solution, let's just please, in the interest of
So,
moving the meeting.
We
can
also too,
Can we,
Okay.
I think our
let me
initial
just make
funding-
one comment before you.
Okay.
So we hear a lot of grand ideas to do stuff in town. We hear it all the time on the bubble, people come here. But the bottom line is, our capital budget is somewhere around $1 million a year. We have to do all our roads, all our buildings, all our facilities. So it doesn't leave a lot of money to go build a parking garage. See where
We had
we
to bond
said?
$10 million to do roads. It
fix
should have
our
been
roads.
done years ago, step by step, but they were put in different areas.
So if we had another $10 million, we could build a parking garage. We just don't have the money.
Okay, let me go back to ask you a simple question. Half the parking lot in the Ammerman lot is available at no charge for anybody to park there.
Shopper parking.
Shopper parking. Well, you don't, like your point was, are they shoppers? They could be employees. It doesn't matter. Nobody parks there now. During the day, there's a handful of cars that ever park there.
You made a very important point before about not having adequate signage.
That's true.
Yes.
And lighting. Lighting is
Those are all
very
very good
important.
points.
It's very dark in there. It's not well lit, and that needs to be addressed too.
Absolutely right.
But if our members want their employees to park there during the day, are they allowed to park there for free on that half?
We would be going against the deal with the planning board. You have to.
No, I'm not talking about Sete. He'll have to deal with the planning board on his own because of the deal that he made. I understand that. But there are, of the 8, there are only 2 that are required by, to buy these decals that are in our group. The others have employees. Like I said, the cinema's on there, they don't have, they're parking in the back too with their employee cars behind our property. So what I'm asking is, can I go back to my owners and tell them that if they want to have their employees park in the Ammerman lot on the half that's for the public, that they're able to do that without an issue?
I think the answer would be they're at their own risk because the police will monitor it, and if they're there every day, they might decide that they're really not shopping. And that's what the police are supposed to be doing, they're supposed to be monitoring the parking, so there is adequate parking. And we
Well,
went to great lengths earlier to enforce that.
all things being equal, if they are parking in the Ammerman lot instead of parking behind our lot, leaves the parking for customers. And because
There's an
the
ordinance-
customers are not parking in the Ammerman lot, let's face
The
it.
ordinance says that.
Well, you're
requires shopper
making
parking.
statements. and
I'm making an
you're
assumption
making an
based on
assumptive
fact,
statement.
because there's never anybody in that lot.
But are
Customers don't park there.
those 3 spots or so many spots that are for the cinema in the back, are they theirs? In
No.
other words, well, who owns them?
No, they're common, it's common area for the condo association, the parking lot, the 15 spaces that are in the back are common for customers and for whoever else is
So
parking
you
there.
would enforce that, or the condo would
Oh,
enforce
yeah,
that?
it's private property, yes, of course. But
So
right
that
now,
would be
they're telling me they
something.
don't have any place to park except to buy these decals for $200 a piece, which they don't want to spend the money on. And they're saying to me, look, Ammerman lot is empty every day. It's empty. Nobody parks there. Customers don't use it. They just don't. And that's a fact.
So what are you asking? You want?
I'm asking if our members maybe get a separate decal, gives them free parking in the Ammerman lot so the police don't ticket them. And that way their employees can be told to park in the Ammerman lot. The members don't have to pay for them, which is their big issue. They just tell their employees, park anywhere you can.
What businesses are they? Which
What-
ones?
From Fortis Fitness,
Fortis?
you got Fortis Fitness, you got Taylor Photography, Stephen Taylor Photography. You have the Bernard Salon. Salon has at least half a dozen employees. You got the toy store, they got a few employees.
And they're all parking in your lot?
They're parking wherever they can, but for the most part, they take up our lot, yeah. And the owners, you know, I mean, it was okay until recently, when a business closed in Far Hills, and customers come there now and fill the lot in the morning, and now everybody's screaming, where are we gonna park, where are we gonna park? So, it's a good thing,
I think we're gonna have
because
to
it's,
review the
Yeah, we're gonna have to
planning
review the
board
whole-
for like for the theater, because they probably, when they went in there, said, we have 3 spots behind us that we're allowed to use, that's why they didn't have to use it. So if they're shuffled around, they might have to pay or do whatever they got to do.
cinema's been there since 1936. It was before anything. They're there since the year of the flood.
We've had parking problems since 1929, according to
There
the
you go.
walking tour
Well.
at Historic Bernardsville last week.
Okay.
They said it right in their thing, since
Right.
1929.
Right, I believe it. I was gonna say that it's starting in the 50s, but I can believe, you know, when people started getting 2 cars in a family, that's when I think the real pressure came.
And you know, you talk about a parking deck, that was going back till about somewhere in that time area, and it was in the Bernardsville News, where they were looking on Claremont, house on the corner of
Mhm.
Claremont and Mill Street. They were looking up there for the parking deck
Yeah,
years ago, you
yeah.
know, previous governing bodies. So it's not a new issue.
It's not, I know
a
it's
new
not a new issue.
Yeah.
I mean, I brought it up to many councils
Yes.
over the years, and it was never picked up, because probably you had the same, you know, problems then as you have now
But I think
with
like Mr.
budget.
Deportier
It's
said,
money.
basically, we have to
It's
review
simple.
everything, you know, so.
Yeah, it's who's gonna pay for our
Our
parking,
ordinance
that's
and-
basically what it
yeah.
comes to. Do we sit the people of Bernardsville with another bill to put up a parking garage?
Well, don't forget, you
I'm
have,
just asking
you
that
you
question.
probably have 100 businesses, they all pay property taxes.
So do all the people in Burnsville,
Right.
they pay a lot of
Right.
taxes.
What the
Right.
average person
But
is.
but the services, well, okay, that's
Just
a different issue. All I'm saying is that parking has been a problem for as long as I can remember. If you would consider having a permit separate and apart from the decal that you sell for the businesses that are required to have them in the Ammerman lot, if you would have a separate decal that you could give out on a first-come, first-served basis for the spaces that are available, there's probably 30 or 40 spaces in that Ammerman lot that would qualify. I think that would be helpful.
We can review that, like you said, Mike, we'll have to look at it with the planning board.
We have to look at the planning board and review
Well,
all
yeah.
the
Well, one thing-
requirements of the businesses.
You're asking for free permits, and I don't think free is reasonable, because we still have to take care of it, and there is a cost. to
Maintenance,
doing
yeah.
that. However, we could always have a different
We're gonna have
price
to put lights up there.
than the $200.
Well, it used to be 50, not that long
A lot of
ago.
things used to be a nickel, you know.
No, I'm not going back that far, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
3-4 years
50
ago, I
is
think it
not
was
realistic.
$50.
50
Then
is
it went
not
to
realistic.
100,
50
then it doubled to 200.
how much does it cost you to repair or replace your parking lot?
I have no idea.
Okay, well, $50 times 3 for 3 spaces.
No, there are 15 spaces. I don't know where the
Well-
number 3 came
Well,
from.
I just used a number. It would take an eternity for you to generate enough money to do the maintenance and repairs that you're asking us to do at Everman. So $50 is just not totally realistic. However, less than 200 might be realistic. But for you to ask for free doesn't really make a lot of
Well,
sense. For you to bring up the discrepancy between people actually needing a permit and using a space and having to pay for something that they don't ever use or ever plan to use, that's kind of an issue, so.
And again,
why don't
we hear
move
what
on
you're saying,
and,
and we.
and take it as under advisement and come up with
It's
something.
not a new issue, but, you know,
Okay.
we'll take all
Chris
your
said
points.
it's all about money. I
and
mean,
we'll
it's
look
snow
at-
plowing, it's a lot of things that go in there,
And
restriping.
I don't think the average resident or business in town realizes that when we collect this tax money, let's use a round number to make the math easy. Let's say it was, I don't know, $12 million, right? How much of that do we send to the county, Ralph? About 2/3, 1/3, we keep maybe 1/3, is that fair? 66, 33?
Roughly, yes.
It's around that. So,
In the schools.
In the school.
right.
And they have a
So we're
39
really,
million
everything
budget.
people say, oh, we're so high taxed and we have all this money, we don't keep it. It goes to the county. We fight constantly to try and get services from them, fields, you name it, tons of things.
Mount Airy Road.
Every now and again, we'll get a grant to do a road, but we
Okay.
don't get as much as we send, we feel. You wanna talk value to what you're paying, that's really,
They've been nice lately.
lately, they've been a little better than normal, I agree. But that's also something that everyone struggles with, and people don't realize that, and I've said it many times, but that for some reason, doesn't seem to sink in. We don't keep all the money that we collect in tax.
Was it $9 million just in the town roughly?
I cannot argue the
It's
you know,
$39
the
million
numbers that you're
for the
throwing out.
school budget.
But I will say this, the 16 businesses that are buying these decals, last year they bought 60 decals at $200 a piece, that's $12,000 for the Ammerman lot alone. I don't know how many other lots have these ordinances that require parking decals. How many lots are there?
Behind the library, the train station.
And
part of the
are
train
those-
station.
Okay,
Just-
but just the Ammerman lot,
Are the decals required for Ammerman or is it just for any municipal lot? I'm just curious.
I think they're required just for the Ammerman lot.
I-
These businesses are required to buy these decals for the Ammerman lot.
Realize that we didn't just pull that number out of a hat. We looked at surrounding areas and other towns within a certain radius, Morristown, you name it, in the area, and it was about an average of a very similar service that's being offered for that dollar figure.
Okay.
And it wasn't something that we just arbitrarily picked out.
I think we're lower end. if
Yeah, what do you
anything.
think we stayed on the average, the lower average?
Well, the question to me was, could I fix our lot for at $50 a space? You know, how long would it take? How much money has been spent on the Ammerman lot in the last few years at $12,000 a year just for those 16 businesses paying for decals?
And again,
I
we're throwing
dare to say that
numbers out
nothing
that
has
we
been, I
don't-
haven't seen
you know.
anything been done in the Ammerman lot for many, many years. And you collect all that money, does it go to the Ammerman lot? Or does it go to the
We plow
general,
it every year and salt it.
what's that?
Snow plowing.
Plow it and salt it,
Salt.
that's probably $3,000-$4,000 a
Fix
year.
the lights.
That's a lot more than that.
Stripe it. at
I
some point.
have other property with lots that
It was
size,
paved
and
like, what, 4 or 5 years ago? Right?
the whole thing was paved?
Yeah, but, it's, we're throwing out hypothetical things now. You do this, why don't you do that, and why don't, you know,
Okay.
$50, $100, $200, so.
I'd
It's
like
really,
to
yeah.
agree to
So
what
we'll
Mayor
consider this, your points are well taken, and we appreciate you,
Okay,
Mr. Goldberg,
I appreciate
being
your
here.
time, thank you very much.
Thank you
I'll
very
tell
much.
Sete to see the planning board.
Definitely.
And see if he can get some relief.
And then what we'll
from
do,
you.
Anthony, if we could pull a list of all the decals, circulate it to council, and we'll review it going into the near future. I mean, you might won't have an immediate response, but probably by the first of the year. We could be
I believe Sandy had a list of what
reporting
the
issue
planning
would be
board
helpful.
required for
Yeah.
all those
We have a list.
bid, yes.
Yeah, I can actually-
Is it the list that you gave me?
No, that was a list of everyone you requested everyone who has a decal, who had a decal for 16.
Right.
That was planning board requirement or not. You're just talking about just the list of planning board requirements.
Planning board requirements,
And board
yes.
adjustment.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Right.
Were there other people that buy those that are not required?
There are some who buy, yes. There are
That
some
might
who
have
buy
their
them
own
not
lot.
required, yes.
What's that?
That might have their own lot. I know Rossi has their own lot, there's a couple people in
Masco
those,
Shoes
but
bought a
Mass
couple,
Joe's.
last year, they're not on the required list from the planning board or board of adjustment. They bought two.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are
Why,
people that
why
buy
would
it.
they buy those decals and not use them?
They were using them.
They use them.
They were using
They
them.
have their employees park there. They provide parking for their employees off-site at the business That's what business parking.
And they don't
is
want
for.
their employees parking in front of the store, in front of someone else's store,
Right.
so they want to direct
Right.
them,
No,
like
no,
Madison
I
does.
understand the reason
Madison,
for it.
if you go in the center
I
of
just
town at
don't,
Waverly Place.
I just don't see the cars that correspond to the number
Well-
of decals. There's 60 decals. Did
That's-
you ever see 60 cars in that lot?
That's a separate issue.
But I'm just saying that, you know, why would they do that? If they actually use them, fine, but I never
Every
saw it.
community sells more decals than there are spots, because you never have 100% utilization
Right.
of decals.
Right.
That's absolutely normal.
Yeah.
Just like airplanes sell more seats.
Yeah.
Overbooking.
Okay,
Mr.
thank
Roy,
you for your time.
Thank you very much.
gentlemen.
No,
Thank you.
your
Okay.
points are well taken, though,
Thank
and
you.
we'll
Thank
we'll
you.
live in.
Come back and visit us more often.
Anyone else from the public? Yes, sir.
Hi,
How you doing?
Hi.
I'm Tim Manning. I am from town. I've been here for like 27 years off and on. So resident,
You have a few decals also, I know. probably.
decals, cars. We got a couple of green cars floating around
Yeah.
here. So I own Wavelength Audio Video in town, which we've been in business for 12 years, and we've been in Bernardsville for I think 4 or so that we've been here. The reason why I came here was not to talk about parking, because I mean, if I had a nickel for every time I heard the conversation about parking, I could have paid for a structure by myself, you know. The reason why I come here tonight is because being a business in town, a resident, seeing certain things about the downtown and hearing feedback from people.
Excuse me, I'm having a hard time. hearing.
Gentlemen, excuse me, we're in a meeting. Thank you.
So hearing feedback, back from shoppers, things like that. In the 4 years we've been here, we've never made our rent once with retail items selling out of our store. Just to be very clear, we're an electronics store. We have everything that you could possibly think of, from headphones, Bluetooth speakers, all that stuff that you can go to a Best Buy and purchase, but you can pass right by us to get to a Best Buy for whatever reason that is and go buy it. Maybe less, maybe the same, who cares, doesn't matter. But in 4 years of having a retail section, we have a service section that's very popular. That's where all the green cars that everybody sees everywhere, right? We're growing, we're thriving, we're still hiring. But the retail side in Bernardsville is, the amount of money we put into the building and whatever, and having people actually walk in to buy something is completely minimal. So what we did is originally we backed down some inventory, and said, okay, maybe we don't inventory very much. Then I said, you know what, I'm not going to have any full-time employees in the store dedicated to just the store. So since I have so many service people in the service side, I put my office in the back of the store. Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, our store's open, not open on the weekends, not open nights, and it seems to be working out better because it's cutting some expenses to make that happen. But every time I talk to anybody in town, I hear tons of complaints. It's always complaining, right? It's always the the parking thing or whatever, or signage or whatever the case may be. And going online and seeing community forums like you brought up the bubble, or being a part of the Chamber of Commerce, things like that. I noticed that it tends to be so much is focused on the problem that the solution hasn't been focused on. And I'm a solutions type of person. I walk into someone's house and say, what's your problem? They tell me the problem, I come up with a solution. There are people in this room that can all stand for that. But so what I did is I went to it was a downtown forum for development in town about 2 weeks ago, and I said, I just want to go in and see what this is about. It was at the high school. I sat down front and center, and I just wanted to listen. And then same thing kind of, there was somebody speaking from downtown Somerville and things they did and stuff like that, and I get it, we're not Somerville, it's fine. But the thing was, the conversation started coming up about problems. Well, I walk around town and nobody's open. Well, there's a reason why that is, just like there's a reason why there's not money to be throwing in a parking garage. But the thing was that in the group, they asked, does anybody have a forum or somewhere where you can go to talk about something to do, right? Something to do, not just what the problems are. So that night, I decided to start a group. So we started a Facebook group, and within 2 days, we had over 200 people join the group called the Downtown Bernardsville Improvement Alliance. Okay, the idea behind it is I would like to do something in the community to help answer these problems, including a parking garage, whatever it is, parking garage. So that's obviously very huge and it takes time, but simple things, signs, safe walking, bringing businesses together to do downtown. Promotions, things like that, holiday things, whatever the case may be.
Isn't this the responsibility of the Chamber of Commerce?
Yes, but so what?
Are you advocating a SID or just a
No.
volunteer?
Kevin and I had this conversation the other night. Bernardsville is at a significant crossroad with one parking, but the bigger issues is we have affordable housing that's going to be imposed on us. We have a downtown that is struggling, inadequate parking. Kevin and I talked about, because we're on this committee to appoint a planner, but what we're talking about is a long-term strategic plan dovetailing into your point where this strategic plan, you'd hire an outside planner with, say, 10 volunteers, and the 10 volunteers would have subcommittees, one dealing with parking, one dealing with downtown, one dealing with the mountain, and we have a well issue with the mountain, and whether the well issue is beneficial to the mountain or not. Also, we just have 20 condo units that went in. Somebody else wants more condo units, and we have to. It's a whole.
It's not something that's going to be resolved in one day.
Yeah,
But
yes,
your efforts are commendable just doing that,
Right.
getting 200 people right away.
Yes, so the thing is, I don't think the 200 people is going to stop anytime soon. And my thought is, I'm a very solutions-driven person. I'm very optimistic, horribly optimistic, and I'm very motivated, and I have a ton of energy, and no matter how many businesses I start or how many employees I have or whatever's going on, I'm always moving forward, right? That's the way that I operate. And if I can get a group of people that all gather together and have this, alliance, whatever the case may be, and can come up with really good ideas that are simple,
Yes.
not giant garages and 10,000 or 10 million or whatever it is, just something simple and start making a difference. I decided that, when I stood up in that forum, 2 weeks ago, when I saw the response, that could probably happen. And sure enough, boom, the ideas that have been coming through have been brilliant. They're wonderful. So what my plan is, I'll be at more of these meetings, you'll be seeing me to talk a little bit more about it, but I'm trying to come up with something to fill the empty stores in Bernardsville, to get a reason why a store would want to move in. If you came in and talked to me from another town and said, hey, somebody told me to move into Bernardsville, how's your business doing? If I talk about my retail business, it's never even paid rent. So if I talk about my service business, which, by the way, we pay for our retail store out of our marketing budget. Think about that. I'm in downtown Bernardsville. I've lived here for 27 years. I'm paying for a store to be here at a premium and a marketing budget. We're thriving in the idea that people know who we are. Everybody in this room has seen our green cars. I'm sure everybody's seen it, right? So people are paying attention. But how do we get people to join and work together to get more businesses here, to get something entertaining downtown, to have safer, that's something that now I've only noticed because I have a 3-month-old, is I'm walking down Mount Airy Road and people are flying down to like 45, 50 miles an hour, and nobody cares that I'm trying to cross the street with a baby carriage, right? And I have to like push my baby out in the middle of the road to get him to stop practically, which I don't do, obviously.
He retracted that statement.
But my point is that there's certain things about just kind of slowing down some of the areas or whatever the case would be, traffic safety, to get people to walk around a little bit more, and then bring things together. And if it's something that I can, work with this alliance to solve the problem of the weeds in the sidewalks, and we bring up some fundraising to make that happen, and kind of take some more of that responsibility, because it should be a business right in front of my business, I should be cleaning this or whatever it is. If we can somehow bring that together to create something like that, and it takes something off of your back to help make something happen, right? That's what I'm interested in doing.
And it's all positive.
All positive,
It's all
every single
positive,
thing.
so,
I don't, there's no, as a matter of fact, anybody who's made a negative comment in the group, I deleted immediately and I called them out on it, and I explained that is not what we're doing this for.
And
I
we'll definitely-
will not tolerate negativity.
We will work together. And like Mike said, we're looking at some long and short-term planning, but specifically long, and you're
Awesome.
right on the same page, so.
That's great. On the same
I'm
wavelength?
glad to see what you're doing.
Same wavelength, right? Yeah, right.
Excuse the pun.
So I'll cut it at that. But I just wanted to announce that this is something that I've started. My wife and I have started it, and I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon. And I want it to be very positive. And I want the town to work with us, knowing that it's businesses and community that I'm trying to bring together, and just
Beautiful. That's great.
make something happen. The little things. It's the little things. Because baby steps will always roll into something much larger, which I'll find out as time goes by. The newborn, right? Hey, all right.
And I'll be watching you when you walk down Mount Airy Road, all right? I'll let you know.
Just pushing this baby out of it. So anyway, that's
All right, thank you very much, and I appreciate your efforts. Anyone else? Yes?
Get ready, here I come. Okay.
Oh, your time's up.
So Patty DeLeo, 69 Mine Mount Road.
I'm not sure who here is on the library board or is the council, Mike. So maybe this goes to you. There's a lot of, I think, misperception based on what I understand as a budget, like what's been given to the library. I've sat through all these meetings. It's my understanding that we, because I'm a member of this community, made a significant capital investment this year, and that we have not cut.
The last couple of years,
Hang on,
actually.
and we have not.
$2 million.
And that's great. Can you maybe go through that to help the public understand that no budget's been cut? Like, they have an operating budget, which is maybe the same, or if it's been reduced. Can you kind of go through that for the public?
It's pretty much the same, it's been flat all the way through.
Okay.
But we have put in brand-new air conditioning units on top of the building. We're working right now on roofing, we've done stuff around the building. Generator system, natural gas, because originally, one of the biggest things, it was all electric heat, which cost $30,000 or more, that we would actually chip in for them. Now they're not gonna have that. So we're not asking them for that money back. They can dump that money back into it for the most part.
So it's true that there are no cuts. There have been no cuts.
There's no cuts.
No cuts. So why would Terry Thompson, who isn't here tonight, talk to the Bernardsville News about cuts that have been made to her budget? Why is there so much emphasis that they can't? You had a little girl here tonight who's adorable, making her case. Why are we putting this on the residents then to believe that there is an issue, that they've had budget cuts, when in fact it's not true? Do you know why that would happen?
The library may have made budget cuts.
But you as a council have not, correct?
Ralph, can you verify?
That's not exactly right.
Well, he's
Ralph,
saying-
correct me if I'm wrong, we cut back on the extra subsidy that we've been paying because they couldn't operate within their budget.
That was under the auspice that the electric, there was money given to the library from the municipal budget on top of the budget that they already received from the borough to cover the exorbitant cost
Of electric heat.
Deportier talked about for the electric heating. But those costs at the time when that process was put into effect, the cost for the electricity was somewhere between $75,000 or up. And over the course of time, that has shrunk significantly. So the finance committee and the council agreed to cut back from that $30,000, not completely, but to cut back from that because of the savings experienced with the loss of the high electric bills. And there was also discussion that if there were monies available at the end of the year that are common in November when we can transfer funds, that if it was necessary for them, for a little help from that the council would consider to do that.
But in reality, with your math that you've done by looking at that coming down, they still would have been whole.
That's correct. You'd have a zero
Correct,
net
right?
thing. If they were saving 40,000 by putting natural gas, and we don't give them 40,000, nothing's changed.
I didn't think so, so I'm a little
Plus
confused
the
with
amount
all
of,
the
just for the
publicity
amount of
about-
time, and plus we've been having Doug down there almost full time.
We got a new
Doing
roof
pretty much
going
the
on.
entire building.
No, that's fine. I want the public to understand that, because I don't know that there's a clear understanding. I think they're being led to believe that you guys have made significant cuts, when in reality, that's not the case.
It's
So I
absolutely
just
not
wanted
the
to give you a
case.
chance to clarify.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In terms of state funding, I think we're probably one of the highest level funding communities, right, Ralph?
As far as the amount of dollars that we are required by law to pay for the library, we have exceeded that number significantly over the last dozen to 14 years. And it's,
I don't even have a problem with that. I mean, it's a great library, but if you're saving, $40,000 or $50,000, there's no reason why we can't return that to the town to do some other things that are necessary, be it roads or whatever else that is necessary. It's not like it's going into the abyss.
Exactly. Well, that money came out of the building and grounds budget, okay? And we all know, we've even heard some comments tonight, how the building and grounds budget has, the grounds and things have been changed and upgraded and repaired. And that's where that money goes back in, that's where it came from, goes back in there to continue the process that ongoing process.
Anyone else from the public? Christine?
Hi, Christine Zamara, 28 Anderson Road. I just wanted to bring up something about the parking again. I know we've been talking about it a lot. So when someone gets to downtown and sees this parking on the side, and they're not familiar with our town, they assume that that's really the only place to park right now because there's no signage to point them any other way. So maybe a good solution now, and it wouldn't be that expensive, I don't think, is to have like those P signs that you see with just an arrow. And it's a uniform sign all across the world. It's a P with an arrow. So either way coming up or down 202, and then either way coming up or down Mount Airy and Anderson, just the P with the arrow. Right now, there are signs, but they're pretty old and they're not, they don't jump out at anyone, let's put it that way. A lot of people don't know where to park, and I think we have parking at the library, we have it at Ammerman Lot, we have it at the post office, we have it at the train station.
And that's
I just think
it's all labeled on maps. Most people use GPS now to get around and navigate, and all that's on GPS maps. So that's labeled. It's not like it's if somebody's coming to town to go to a store, they're going to put it in their navigation. They're going to say, here's the downtown and here's parking.
I don't think so.
I think they're different. I mean, what's the big deal about putting up a couple of signs?
That's fine. I
We talked
agree.
about it
Yep.
before in your committee, but, nothing's happened.
It's fine.
We
I
have
do
to
think
upgrade our
people-
signage, and that's probably one of the suggestions you received.
We don't have to go through the state when it comes on 202, do we? Because I know we talked about some signs early last year, and we had to put it out in front of the state.
What were the signs you were asking for?
It was like turning signs and parking signs and things.
I believe we do.
Okay.
And the
The
amount of
202 is
roads count.
obviously a state road, so any signage has to be, doesn't mean we don't ask, but it just has to be
The
approved
train
from the
station
state.
is New Jersey Transit, which is even tougher than the state.
Well, I think at least one sign can go at the corner where the Bernards Inn and the garage are. There's a sign there now, like a post,
Yeah.
so you can just change it to this
Okay.
and
It's not a
see
bad
how
idea.
That's a good
see
idea.
how it goes. At least for that.
That means it
And
was
then at
approved already, I guess.
the library too, maybe.
Yeah.
On the way in. So, the other question I wanted to ask is about Claremont Clubhouse, as to whether or not that will come up later when we do the committee updates, because,
We're waiting for quotes to come back from contractors for
Okay.
repairs. Right now, we're holding off right now.
frozen, okay, so
Until
I
we
just,
get a number on what the cost is going to be.
right.
Okay.
I just want to let you know that everything that the people who are trying to take action there is out of love for that clubhouse.
We understand fully.
We really just,
We
But
understand
we
fully,
can't put
but
them
it's
into a
just,
situation where there's mold or there's
Yeah.
no roof, something's falling down.
it's just not a matter of cleaning and paint. There's more
I
issues
agree.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
a lot more.
one of the people who's a resident that was there definitely expressed that to us and said, you just sitting here now looking at this stuff, she's like, you're probably better off sitting outside, and we all went outside. I mean, it's been left there to kind of fester, and that's not what anybody
It's not the only building
wants.
that's been left to fester in this town.
Right.
We repaired this entire building.
Right, so I realize that, and I
It's
just,
just,
yeah.
in the grand scheme of things, here's the list, that's kind of in the middle of the list. The important stuff are our big buildings.
It took us
Oh,
29
important
years
buildings
to
Well, I-
pave
library.
a lot here.
Right.
Think about that and the amount of cost
So,
that's involved. And
Like I
all that
said
money goes
before,
out.
there's only a certain amount of money to go around.
Right.
So-
So I think some of that money needs to go to a community thing. And that would be a good one, and it wouldn't be that much, even if it's just a pavilion or whatever you decide, I understand that. But a place for community to gather, similar to what's there, it doesn't have to be, state-of-the-art anything, just
Yeah,
something.
we have to look at the numbers because we're talking about fixing all the parks and Kiwanis and all these.
Which
other
I
places.
also, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you,
No,
but
it's all right.
The parks are looking fantastic, and I'm so
Thanks, Doug.
happy. And
Thank
I
you,
want to
Doug.
tell you that Doug needs to have a lifelong job here.
I don't know if he wants that.
I think he wants a raise, so you can say you
Doug
should have a
is
raise,
doing
you know,
awesome.
but-
Yes, give him a raise.
Anyone else from the public?
Thank you, Kristen.
Doug, your awful lot of batteries, is that for your headlight that you're doing at night, that you're out there every day? Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Hi, Carrie Hazelton, Mine Brook Road. Just because Christine was talking about signage and we were talking about 202 and the need to talk to the state, I don't know how many of you noticed, because I did, the every half mile mileage indicator signs that say 202 north or 202 south, mile 60.5, mile 61, they came up very recently, and that seems like an awful lot of signs. So it seemed like if we wanted to add some signs to indicate where parking is, maybe they would be amenable to that, because they didn't mind putting up so many signs. I've never seen them anywhere else on that
And you
road.
know, when we did the downtown project, a lot of residents complained, because even with the crosswalks, it's not only at the crosswalk, it's
Yeah.
before it, and like, it's
Yeah,
throughout
but
the whole
but these
town.
signs are bright
So,
green, and they
yes.
seem excessive to me, like if
Mhm.
you're talking about sign pollution. So, you know, if
And
we could-
basically, we would just have to ask
State
the
highway,
state, you know,
they
we
get to
just.
do whatever they want.
Yeah, I know you have no
Yeah,
control
it's-
over it. I'm just saying, they're putting up signs, let's get some signs that actually do something, because other than an emergency, you know, like, if you're at mile 1 or mile .5,
Mm.
you know, you're not
Not
gonna
good.
see them unless you see it anyway, you
Yes.
know, kind of thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Council members, anything else? No. Seeing none, I'll close the open session, and we'll move the agenda on to ordinances. Open a public hearing on ordinance 17-1754, amending ordinance 17-1743, which appropriated $365,000 from the capital improvement funds for various equipment and improvements as listed. Anybody from the public or council comments? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Motion to pass on final reading and adopt as published. Entertain a motion.
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Youngblood,
Second.
second by Mr. Bearbaum. Roll call, please.
Mr. Barbato?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeo?
Yes.
Mr. DePortier?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood?
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion that ordinance 17-1755, an ordinance requiring that a zoning permit be issued before the issuance of a tree removal permit, and amending section 12-3A of the Borough Land Use Ordinance entitled Zoning Permit, and section 13-7 of the Borough Code entitled Tree Removal, be introduced by title, passed on first reading, published according to law, and that a public hearing be scheduled for a meeting beginning 7 p.m. on Monday, November 13, 2017. Have a motion?
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Youngblood.
Second.
Second by Mr.
Got a
DePortier.
question?
Yes.
Jack, is it clear, the way this is written, that if someone just wants to not do an improvement on their property, they don't have to get a permit?
Yes, because of the context and the sections that are.
Okay, I just wanted to double check that, thank you.
All right, you got the motion, Anthony?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? All right, the ayes have it. Of our final reading on November 13th. All right, resolutions. We have 17-198 through 17-210. And Anthony gave us a copy of the transfer of funds prior to the meeting. Anyone have any comments?
Yeah, we're gonna have to move out for a vote 17-204.
204, okay.
That'll be a separate vote.
198 as well, please.
198.
I have one on the, with the charitable signs. Jeff Price had comments.
That's a new, that's discussion.
That's
Discussion.
Right, discussion, sorry.
All right, 204, Jeff, you want to discuss that in executive?
What?
204?
No,
Oh,
I just don't wanna vote on it. I'm gonna abstain from vote.
Okay, that's fine.
That's all.
And Peter, 198, what's your suggestion?
Last year we had this long discussion about dropping the fee to $100 for the railroad crossing. Now we're at 300. I thought we were 200 last time I saw this before it was introduced. I just want to know, did we just, somebody suggest that we make these changes, or this conference?
Tonight?
No, not tonight. I thought that a couple of weeks ago we had talked about doing these fees.
I think we
Ralph,
want to
is there
keep
interest in
parity
the
with
fees
the
this
other towns, that's all.
No, those are the same fees we had from 2017.
They're the same as last year?
Yeah, they
My
didn't touch that
apologies.
part.
Okay. In view of some of the merchant permit issues, wondering if anybody is willing to maybe adjust that down a little bit. But the issue is a little bit more complex.
Want to study it further and pull it for the evening?
I don't think I want to make the
Or you
decision
wanna
right now.
No.
Anthony,
I say we
go back
pull
to
it.
the plan.
I'm not making that
Pull it for
decision
this
now.
evening, we'll get the list from Anthony.
Yeah, we gotta,
And
and
then
we
we'll,
have to
um,
start selling the permits now, so let's go ahead.
Yeah, all right.
You want to move this to the next meeting?
Yeah, at least the next
Well,
meeting, yeah.
Anthony, when do you have to start selling permits?
Sometime in the second week of December, so.
Oh, we have time.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so.
All right, so we'll pull 17-198.
At least one meeting, so.
Anyone else with anything on resolutions? Okay, so. Entertained motion move 17-199. We're gonna pull 17-204 for a separate vote, 17-205 to 17-210. Moved by Mr. Deportaire,
Second.
second by Mr. Schmidt. Roll call, please.
Aye.
Mr. Youngblood?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Deportaire?
Yes.
Mr. D'Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Birnbaum?
Yes.
All right, entertain a motion to, move 17-204.
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Birnbaum,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Deportaire. Roll call, please.
Mr. Birnbaum?
Yes.
Mr. D'Elia?
Abstain?
Mr. Deportaire?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Youngblood?
Yes.
All right, moving on to reports, report of municipal attorney. Any questions or comments for Jack? Seeing none, we'll move to, council public safety committee.
One was hiring.
Yeah, right. Other than the two officers that we are appointing, there's nothing else to report. Talked to the chief at length today. There are some things I want to bring up about several roads that I brought up with the Public Works the other day, and that's something for closed session, so.
All right, finance and personnel.
No, we're just moving the capital budgeting, as I mentioned last time. And it's the end of year, we start, Ralph, this crew starts looking for a dollar here and a dollar there, and see how much real money we can apply.
Yeah, we received some requests last week, so we gotta look through them and do our due diligence. Once
All right.
again.
Anyone else on that? All right, engineering, technology, public works. You, Jeff.
John, you want to give us an update, just high level right now?
Sure. We've issued POs for the bridge for the trail down at Audubon.
Yes.
Expecting temporary road to go in early November with construction on the bridge mid-November.
Fantastic. So we'll start rallying the crews for working on trails and stuff. Thanks, John.
And you probably noticed we finally got a weekend when it wasn't raining, so we were able to get the lot striped finally after a few false starts.
Looks great.
Yeah,
We just
good
got a
job.
couple more trees to pop out front, some facade lighting, and we're going to explore putting 3 more lights down by the wastewater plant. Because some people like to park all the way down in the gravel area down there now.
Well, now with the lighting in front of the building, it looks dark when you get down to the end, so.
I know Doug's going to talk a little bit later about some difficulties with the train station parking lot. Also, the generator, we're just waiting for final inspections, Doug.
Yes,
Yeah,
once we
it
sign
is- it is-
final inspections, but in the event of an emergency, the generator's functioning.
It is operational.
Yes.
On the Public Works storage garage, we're waiting for a construction discuss the site issues that Chris mentioned along Mine Brook Road. And we had a very successful household cleanup, 260 participants. And Tom Wood was there from Ludlow, and there were 39 refrigerator, dehumidifier, refrigerator units where we reclaimed the refrigerant and recycled the units.
There's a big hall.
It's
That's up there towards the end, and they're just like
Was that a
carcasses all
record?
over the place.
Was that a record, John?
That's
pretty good, huh?
It seems really high.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that.
I think we had 42 first time we did it. I don't think it's record.
Wow.
But at least for vehicles.
For drop-off.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Tom was just sharing with me, it's amazing, there's still an AC unit left in Bernardsville because we've hit these numbers the past 4 cleanups that we've done, spring and fall. So it's a nice service for the community.
Thank you.
And thank you for volunteering, Tom.
And the turf field, the field is in place. If you haven't been up there, you gotta go see it. It's absolutely beautiful. They're still doing some touch-up on landscaping. They're putting in the new stone road for us and making an alteration to the other one. But weather permitting, this week it could be completed with the project.
Well, tomorrow's not gonna be good weather, I don't think so.
You don't need too much
It'll
water.
actually help though.
Yeah, it will, yeah.
They didn't seed it yet.
All right. Jeff,
Thanks,
anything?
Sean. Doug, you want to give us a high level?
Yeah, I was just
Oh.
going to say, Mayor, I think this is an appropriate time, Doug and I want to really address you about the train station parking lot that we talked about last week. Give you an update on where we are with that. So,
Because back in July, we started talking about, was that right, House?
Yes.
Back in July, we said, let's see if we can get the train station parking lot paved, the curb work done, and all those other items. Yeah, that's fine, I'll come up.
Okay.
And so we started working through transit. First thing we had to do is, I reached out to transit, took many, many phone calls to find someone that could help us identify some vendors that are certified to work in the right-of-way for the tracks. So we got 3 vendors, I sent out for bids. We had 1 responded, it was $87,000. And in the meantime, I've been working with transit, trying to get some relief for some of the requirements they have since we're doing the work on their property. I know we're gonna be inside the easement, but we're hoping that they could help us with the training, give us a firm training date, and also maybe provide somebody that could provide some on-site safety, so we wouldn't have to train our vendor. So the first quote that came back was well beyond our affordability. It was around $87,000. So put a package together, and that was just for the curb repair, okay, which is not the entire area, it's just patching, and removing some of the center islands. So we went back out for I put another package together, sent it out, identified 8 vendors, sent it out. We got 2 respondents, one was 75, the other one was 37. But all along the way, it's just been, it's been a real battle with transit. It's almost like they don't understand that we're trying to do work on their property. You know, I could understand if we were a private property owner and they were making us jump through all these hoops. They want us to pay $500 to them for an administrative fee to pave their lot. I mean, it's absolutely mind-boggling. So I got a call one day just to show you how it works. You know, I've been working with these folks for over 2 months, trying to figure out a way that we can make this work for everybody. And I get a call late Wednesday afternoon that if I can do the work, the curb work, the paving and everything on that particular weekend, they're not having any service, I wouldn't need
Supervisor. So if close a business call on Wednesday, they want you to start on Saturday?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
good.
That's
helpful. Tim turns around stuff like that, right?
Yeah. So anyway, long story short, we're still having a lot of issues that we can't get resolved. I can't get a firm training date. Our contractor is willing to send a person down for the training, but it's Monday through Thursday, and they determine when the person's gonna go. Now, we're working with a small time. Yeah, and we're working with a smaller contractor now, and we got a much better price for the borough. But if he has to send his foreman down to Trenton for the day, he loses his crew for that day, because he can't send his crew out without a foreman. So, I mean, these are some of the issues we're trying to work through.
And if we wanted to do that, if I can
Yeah.
interrupt for a second, we would have to pick up that cost.
Yeah. Yes,
And
absolutely.
there's, how many people have you spoken to down there?
At least 6. From the real estate people, to purchasing, to the safety, to the government affairs. It's just been, like this. So the bottom line is, we have a contractor in place that can do the work, but we're just gonna run out of weather. If we have to do the work, we're trying to work around the farmer's market. And then if we have one weekend that we could possibly do it, and if we lose that weekend to weather, we're gonna be into the shoppers, the shopping season with Thanksgiving and everything. So our recommendation is to move it to the spring, continue to try to work with transit to get some kind of, cooperation from them and get this done. But it's unbelievable, the amount of time and effort.
The man hours that have gone into this from us, and from him to me,
And they
Jack.
just, very, very.
You also asked them to send a guy.
Yes,
Why
they-
don't you
Oh,
send a-
yes.
Send a safety officer first.
Yes,
You
that's
send
what
the
we
safety
requested.
order, so we don't have to send somebody down there and they
And we
can
said
take
we
care
would pay for it, for that person. We would pay for it, because we only need them for the one day, doing the curb work in that area, maybe 2 days. But we even offered, I said, listen, if we have to, if we can split the cost of the safety officer, they refused to do it.
And the issue is that we can't be within 25 feet of the rail.
Of the rail, and then also the overhead line. So they have, so they have some equipment that extends, beyond the tracks.
What happens if we simply do the work outside of the 25-foot zone and tell them to pound salt on the
Yeah.
rest?
The worst of the curbing is on their platform.
Yeah, then it's incomplete.
Right. And
Yeah,
then what we have to do is.
Yeah, but it's their problem, they're gonna have to
But if
fix
we
it.
pave.
Yeah, we're gonna have a section, we're gonna have curbing falling down when people pull in, the curbing, and then we're gonna have a section paved, we're gonna have maybe a 6 or 7 foot section of all the way down the side that isn't gonna be maintained.
Have we asked them to do the repairs to their own sidewalk and curbing? Because they're, I believe.
Yeah, they have no
they're-
interest in doing that. What they're saying is that any surplus rent we have should be applied to those projects.
Maybe we should
Is
go
that-
back
Is
to
that new? Is that a new policy? Because I don't recall.
That's in the lease agreement.
In the lease
So,
agreement.
yeah.
Okay, we will have a closed session
Okay.
this evening.
But I know we really put forth a really solid effort to try to get this done this fall. And it's just, it's disappointing that we can't.
Yeah, they're very difficult to do.
Yeah, it's just very disappointing because, with all the work we've been doing in the borough, people are really noticing it. And we get a
Yes.
lot of comments, John, we get a lot of comments, when are you guys gonna do the train station?
All
You know?
summer. And I
It's the
personally
boil.
been telling every
Yeah.
people.
Right on your nose.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, I mean, I appreciate that you allowed us to do this in public. It's unfortunate that the representative from the newspaper's not here, because we wanted to let not only you know, but let the rest of the public, or as much as we could reach.
There you go.
As much as we tried to do this and know that it's necessary and have money to pay for it.
It's
and
all there, it's all in place, it's just New Jersey Transit.
And it's their property. It's mind-boggling, but this is where we're at, and I appreciate, because Doug has done a tremendous job trying to push this through. No one has had the stick-to-itiveness to continue, and it
Yeah.
seems that sometimes that's what they count on,
No,
that
you're doing
sooner
a
or
great-
later
you're
you'll
doing
go
a great
away,
job,
because
yeah.
you're banging your head against the
I
wall.
think it's gonna wind up being a spring project, the way you suggest.
Oh,
So we have
yeah.
everything in
no,
place.
there's
Yeah,
no way, we're
we're
running
just-
out of
we're
time.
running out of
One
weather.
weekend.
We're running
Yeah,
out of time, we
it might
If
can't.
it ever
That might
rained that
not work,
weekend, we
yeah.
would be.
Is it that they hope that you will only use their approved vendors for the 87K? Is that the
No,
deal?
I really don't think so, because when I spoke to the purchasing person, I said I need at least three bids. He understood that, and
Okay.
he went through, he just arbitrarily gave me 3 names. We wanted to get somebody that was close to our area,
Yeah, sure.
of course, and he pretty much did that.
You
And
mentioned
they're
training
very,
though of our
very
vendor.
large,
I
very
can't see them.
large, very
Normally
large
they'll make
firms.
you pay for a flagger. Which
Didn't
is like
even
an
mention a
engineer.
flyer, yeah.
And all he does is sits out there and makes sure everybody stops when the train comes,
Right.
and then lets everybody go
Right.
afterwards.
We had a flyer on Meeker. We had that.
That's
And,
pretty much all you need there.
Yeah. And
Make
that-
sure
and
no
that-
one's
and
near
that
the
worked out,
platform.
And that worked out.
How do you,
Is that something the Board of Public Utilities
They're separate
We're
agencies,
hoping
different
that
agencies.
John will
No,
all
they're not a
accomplish.
utility, they're actually a separate corporation created by the state. They're the ultimate bureaucracy.
I think we're gonna get a hold of Lance.
Okay.
Yeah, most railways are, but they're actually a division of the state government, created by the state government.
Hence the problem.
Hence,
That's the problem.
Yes.
Exactly.
So we just, like Ralph had mentioned, we just wanted to let you know that, we didn't lose sight of the project, and, I think we really, really gave it a good effort, and it's just gonna have to wait more than spring, we just ran out of weather.
And there's no guarantee in the spring either.
No.
I mean,
If
we've
we-
run out of weather, not,
Yeah.
it's not that they're
They didn't wear-
cooperating.
They didn't wear us down yet.
Yeah, they haven't worse, I mean, I don't know what's gonna change in the spring either,
Even if we get things in place between now and the end of the year, so we're ready to go in the spring.
Absolutely.
So they should be,
That's what we're gonna do.
we
So
have to
they
send
didn't
somebody
change-
for training, we can
Yes.
send them down and then climate weather, whatever it
Yes.
is, so.
Yes, and that's what I
They're not
spoke to our
shutting down
contractor
for a
about.
year.
I said, you'll
So-
probably be slowing down, we get into December, January, that would be the time.
It might
if the
work out
person
better,
changed.
yeah, so.
And then we could use their foreman if who's over in the co-op, if they're not certified, then we can use their foreman to oversee when we do the milling and paving.
they'll give you the card and
Yeah,
everything
it's
else.
free, yeah.
They'll charge you $100 if you don't give the card back
Okay.
after it's expired.
Okay.
So it's free, you go down
It's
to the
free.
Ironbound.
Yeah, they just don't have a schedule.
I know. And you have to use fax.
Yeah,
They don't do email.
right.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
I just
All right,
wanted
thank you.
you to all understand, because
Thanks,
I
Doug.
work with Doug every day
Thanks,
on
Doug.
it, and I
Good
see
job,
his
Doug.
frustration, and
Yeah.
you should just know.
You got everything else done this year, so next year, thank you. All right, anyone else on Public Works, Technology, Engineering? All right, seeing none, other committee reports, Bill, this is usually you.
Yeah, just HPAC, again, we announced last meeting, but we got our latest round of funding from the county. I think we're picking up tomorrow night about $184,000. So this is for the dumpster squid property, so if anybody's available and wants to go down tomorrow for the ceremony, it's a freeholders meeting,
That's at 7?
7 o'clock, be there by 6:40. You gonna pick me up?
I'm gonna try, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
I'll pick you up.
for HPAC, that's, again, continuing progress, and we were waiting to hear. We've also applied for matching state funds for some of our county grants. On, Anthony, one question, switching gears to Shade Tree. We got a skills bank form. Was there someone that was specifically requesting Shade Tree? I thought her name was,
To be appointed on Shade Tree? or-
yes.
Yes, that came from Ann Wassiter,
Yes.
the co-chair. She had someone submit a skills bank form to her.
And that particular, I know Lou Matlock has decided to step off for some
Yes.
issues. So what's the procedure for that committee? Is it mayor
That's
with
the mayor
council?
appointment. And that's just the mayor appointment.
That's just mayor
Right, and
appointment?
that term is an unexpired term is the end of 2017.
Okay,
The
so
Lou
the-
Matlock, term.
All right, so is there more than one position available, or just,
I think that's it on Shade Tree at the time. Without looking at that, but there's definitely that one vacancy now that Lou left.
okay, so, Mayor, if we do have an applicant that would like to step into
I
that.
saw that, yeah.
She's come to the last two, she's already come to the last two meetings, so,
And she comes highly recommended by Ann, so,
so I'd
I'm
just like,
willing to appoint.
I'd just like you, move that forward from the committee. If you can appoint her, we would appreciate that.
Okay, you want to appoint her tonight, gentlemen?
Yes.
Anthony, I don't have a skill bank form in front of me. Billy, have the name or anything?
Is that it?
Yeah. I don't have
Her name
the-
was Barbara Bayonet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was one of the 5 skills that came in the email, so.
Yes.
And that's just your appointment. You don't need consent, so.
Okay. All right, I'm willing to make that appointment this evening, on the recommendation of Ann Wassinger and Bill Youngblood, Councilman Youngblood, so appointed. Thank you.
Anthony, in the past, Sandy used to send us the list of appointees for the real. Could you send that out to everybody who's on the different committees?
Yeah, I'm gonna send you a whole directory
Yep.
of
Thank
every
you.
board committee, yeah.
And usually, if they're up, when's their
Yeah,
term
terms
expire?
expire.
and
Right,
that stuff.
right.
Sure.
Because it's, look, we're already at the end of
Yeah.
October.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll send that out.
years gone fast. Anything else, gentlemen?
No.
Just one thing that was in the package from the JIF. Survey revealed strong management, committed to good follow-through by all the departments visited. No new suggestions for improvements are being submitted. Woohoo!
Very good. All right.
Try Ralph.
Jeff?
Health.
Because I'm the liaison.
Board of Health, so our contract has renewed, correct, Ralph? With
That's
the 3-year, with no increase and no decrease in services with the Bernards Township. And I also want to make a correction for the newspaper, although they're not here. I'm sure they'll listen tomorrow. They received a quote for a member on the committee. The contract is for the county is $67,055 4.0, not $52,000 per year as noted by that person. So that was my correction for the newspaper.
And that's without the
And that,
record keeping.
exactly, and that's without any
No
secretary
administrative help, yeah.
administrative services associated with their contract.
And that's not an apples-to-apples comparison.
Exactly.
It's because there are a lot of services that are provided.
So I don't know why the newspaper it did no fact check and no check with the town hall, but I'll correct it for them.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move to items of business. We already addressed 10A, Mr. Goldberg, who was here earlier. 10B, best practices.
Yes, Mayor, I just wanted to alert the council that each October, I'm required to submit a report on the best practices, fill in the blanks on the questions that are asked by the state in order to guarantee our state aid. There's a percentage that you need to achieve to get full compensation, and they fall well within that. They have reduced the number of questions from 40 to 25. We answer positively for 23 out of 25. And the other two are being worked on.
All right. Good job, as usual. Do good on this. We do well on this every year. 10C, Veterans Day Memorial Ceremony of Borough
I can
Hall.
also speak on that, Mayor.
Okay.
The veterans normally have their Veterans Day ceremony in town square, in the center of town, but because Veterans Day, the 11th, is on a Saturday, and they have representatives from the band and the school come there, but because it's on Saturday, they asked if they could move the function to our Memorial Park out here. It would coincide with the bench, the veterans bench that we have got for them that they're going to dedicate at that time also. And I believe they have a gun salute, a whole process. And it begins at 11 a.m. on the 11th because that's when the armistice was signed. So, and I had John Sternick, our liaison to that committee, down here to pick out the spot for the bench and to case the place out. So they're happy, and they'd like to do it here. I said I would speak on their behalf to get your permission to do that on Saturday the 11th, at 11 a.m.
I'm sure it's fine with all of us.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll all be in attendance.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, revised well ordinance. Jack, you want to update us on anything with this? Or?
Yes, this was submitted by the Environmental Commission. Under Robert's rules, you can't introduce the same ordinance in the same legislative session. It's been voted down. This ordinance does contain significant changes, so it can be reintroduced if you wish. What they did in a nutshell was they took away the stricter requirements for major subdivisions of 5 lots or more and made the less strict provisions apply to all subdivisions.
Could I comment on this?
Sure.
This council already has made a decision on this, no matter if it changes or what. I mean, many of us feel there's no well issue up on the Bernardsville Mountain. There was no facts presented to us that brought us to a decision that there's no issue. And I think we should stop bringing this forward and move on. And I want to give that advice to the Environmental Commission. And also, as we continue with this information, it's gonna hurt our property on the Bernardsville Mountain. So we should just stop talking about well issues. There's no well issues on the Bernardsville Mountain, and we need to move forward. That's my opinion. I don't want to move this forward.
Anyone else? Michael?
I have some information. I've asked for a lot of, data, and haven't been able to get data. And everybody makes, fun of it in the paper, or the bubble, whatever it is. So I went and I did my own search for the data. And I found that
Sorry, Michael, what data was it you were looking for?
the problems like they're saying that we have with well water and everything else.
I don't think, well, okay.
Well, water resources, basically. So what I did is, I went back to their own environmental resource inventory, which was penned in 2010 by Sherry Ferroli, Joe DeMarco, Rosalie Ballantyne, Kathy DeJordi, Kerry Hasselton, Alice Rochat, Tom Voss, Joanna Wissinger, Paula Dees, and Peter Miller. They reference an issue that in the one letter, they said, we have no...
What was the date of that?
That was in 2010.
Okay.
And there has been no big developments probably in 15 years in Bernardsville. So there really hasn't been any change. There hasn't been any real big issues. They threw around numbers. People were saying that there were 7 problems out of 900 wells. I mean, we can go back and forth all you want.
Survey balance.
That's a survey, but I mean, that's negligible.
Details, sir, so please be accurate in terms of what you're quoting.
Okay, it's part of the survey.
No, that wasn't 900 wells that was surveyed. Okay, that's totally.
It was everybody in the town, correct?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Maybe you didn't read the reports.
Okay.
It was, it went to about 70-something people, I don't remember the exact number, and it was voluntary to return, and we got about a little over 30% back, if I remember correctly. And it wasn't, we weren't looking for problems or finding what with the history and what the issues, because there's no other support data like that anywhere, because it's not required by anything.
The history doesn't say that we should have this very restrictive well ordinance either.
It's not, if you read this one, it's not restrictive. That's why they
One of the things that said there's no reservoirs or water supplies or recharge. There's 75 bodies of water in the town of Bernardsville, almost 45 acres. If we go to the report in 2006, their first summary and conclusion says the borough has an abundance of groundwater. They commissioned it themselves.
What year was that?
The recharge, the borough has an
2006.
abundance. Right, nothing really has changed.
You look at the permits being drawn from the,
Let's move on.
I have those
Let's move on.
numbers. There's a few.
But I'll go to
new wells
2010,
drilled.
I'll keep on going. The recharge capacity of the superficial geological structures can provide sufficient groundwater to support current and potential future populations projected against the existing zone plan. So, going back, based upon consumption of 130 gallons per person per day, groundwater supply can support a theoretical population of 69,849 individuals, or approximately 16,000 households. Based upon this analysis, the water supply available from groundwater recharge within the borough is more than adequate to supply future needs based upon the expected future population. Lakes. 71% of the population in Burnsville get their water service through New Jersey American Water, which has their wells down below. 29% are by wells. The alternative analysis that assumes new dwelling units that will be construction will be the mix of 4 or 5 bedroom homes, results in a new population of 6,607.77. That, when combined with the potential population of the existing housing stock, projects a future population of 15,927 people. don't have a water problem in Bernardsville. It's by their own reports in 2010, 2006. Now, these are engineering groups that came and actually they commissioned these reports. Nothing really has changed. There has been no major subdivisions. I don't understand the need for this.
Okay.
I mean, this is old history. I mean,
It's the County Environmental Commission,
right.
you know, so.
I don't know what to say.
Anyone else?
I don't want to move it forward. I don't know.
Okay.
Kevin, I think this issue is, as we were talking before, I think this is one aspect of the borough that needs to be looked at. It's as important as downtown parking, downtown revitalization, the illiquidity of the mountain itself. And I think we have to take a holistic macro view of the town. And I'm in favor of creating a strategic plan committee, hire a strategic planning consultant, and let them assist us, because we all know too that this fair share housing is going to be painful as to where it's going, how it's going to go, and I think we need to allow the constituents to give them, Tim Manning, let him chair the committee and figure out the problem.
We've spent how much money
Wait a
on
second.
this
These
well order?
reports were done by our environmental commission, and they were not brought forward and used as data. They're saying that there's twice the amount of water in Bernardsville that we're using right now.
Yeah,
Okay?
I think Terry
I
Thompson.
think everybody should take this information
Michael.
and take it to the planning board or whoever it is. That should be part of the whole situation. If we have plenty of water and we're not experiencing these issues, why are we doing this?
Mike, Terry Thompson, I think, mentioned that the fact that you're alluding to, which is the amount of recharge process, is not a acceptable methodology, and that's no longer used.
They
because
don't
it's-
accept it.
No.
Who doesn't
The
accept
state,
it?
all hydrologists, the state, all the people that work in this field, the number in terms of recharge that you're talking about is not a valid basis. And the newer reports, which were presented by two hydrologists, were using the correct recharge measurement.
How do we know what they're using is correct? How do we know what they're using is
Because
correct?
they're friggin' scientists. That's what they do. That's what their licenses are for.
But there's no information
But that's what
whatsoever.
their licenses are for.
We're trying to do this in
No,
order to gain
no.
information.
No.
Thanks.
So,
I
let me
suggest
understand
that-
this, Peter.
Excuse me,
No,
I
when
have
you're
the floor.
done, when
I
you're
have the floor.
done,
Thank you.
I'll take them.
I interrupt occasionally, but I also
No,
try to
you
learn
gotta
to
figure
pull
out-
back.
Go ahead.
The facts and figures you're throwing around are convenient for you, but I think we're all ignoring what the intent of this was, to take a more holistic view of the demands on this community, the demands on this total area, because we're not in isolation. This came out of a concern of the planning board. The planning board said that it wasn't inconsistent with the master plan. Because there are so many questions and objections and issues, which, it's important that everybody thoroughly understands and goes through these things. We spent a lot of money because everybody had a lot of more questions, and that's what it demanded. You all
And we
wanted
got
to
the
hire
same
more.
answer from when
Yes, we did. We
You
wanted to
mind?
get the data. We wanted to get the
I'm
truth,
sorry.
Peter. We really
I'm
did.
sorry. Right.
You're
And we
right.
hired other experts that other people all agreed were qualified. So, it goes back to, I think, a very fundamental thing that we're seeing a lot, which is people don't want to accept science and studies and
What do we-
proven
What do you mean, accept
What do
science?
we accept?
proven methodologies.
What do we accepted? There's no new wells. People's wells aren't drying up. So what are we accepting? Some hydrologists saying we may have a problem someday?
We could
We don't have
possibly.
development
I
going
think
on,
a
so
lot of
where's there
people
gonna be a problem?
a lot of people drew the inference that there's a problem with water supply. And
It was
There are-
based
Based on
on
what?
Excuse me. I know I didn't draw inference from that. I'm on record saying quite the opposite.
yes, you are.
Absolutely. I said, where's the people in line saying, I have a problem with my
Nobody
well?
said there's a catastrophe. Well, this is
This ordinance is a catastrophe. You kidding me?
That's
I'm not gonna allow, Peter, I'm not gonna allow
Sure it
that.
is.
You're wrong.
This is a conservation measure and
It's
and an
not,
early
it's a
warning
panic
system.
attack.
It is not. Come on.
This is,
A panic attack is
there's
reactionary.
only, what, 6 towns that have this in the state of
No,
New
guys,
Jersey?
There's 19.
No, that's
Sorry,
not
19,
true.
Excuse me, I did the
Everybody
research.
has their own,
Give-
everybody
give me-
has their own.
give me
very-
2
very
seconds.
Yeah, sure.
Peter, you have to look at the
I,
facts.
listen, I'm on record for this too. I was told, and so was, I shouldn't say I, we, all encompassing, were told that several towns, more than 5, in our general area, Mendham, you name it, had a similar or identical type of ordinance. Were we not?
I believe somebody said something to that.
Somebody?
effect.
Right.
And
How
they
about
corrected
Paula Stewart in
themselves
the
afterwards.
committee?
They corrected themselves
And
afterwards.
They, excuse me?
There are similar measures designed to accomplish the same outcome, which
Okay,
is to
I
do
was
some
told,
checking
and we were
before
told,
things are going.
so I checked on that, okay? It took a while, but I got calls back from those neighboring towns.
No, I'm
You-
sorry, your
You're
information
telling
is
me I didn't get the
absolutely
calls?
incorrect.
You're telling me I didn't get the calls? They don't have ordinances like that, so I went further.
They do, because when you talk to certain people, they don't understand what you're asking for. Because we also did the same
So the
kind of
mayor,
survey.
so the mayor of Chatham Township and Mendham are lying to me?
Glad you didn't say Mayor Bernardsville.
You know,
So what I'm saying is they're misinformed, Peter? I was pretty specific about what the type of ordinance was. I sent them the documentation, and they said they don't have anything like that. So I went further, and I looked at, who did this first? Okay? Nearby is Franklin Lakes.
you know, I would
That's
have
the
to
first.
ask the people that.
I'd like to
this
speak
work
too, like I have the floor.
answer-
I'd like to
answer your
speak.
questions.
Oh,
I cannot
When I'm
answer
done, you
your
can answer.
Let Chris finish his statement.
Franklin Lakes is the only area in North Jersey. From Hillsborough down, there's a total of 19 in the whole entire state out of 535 municipalities. 19. Where's the fire? You understand? We're Burnsville. We're not a major, huge municipality that has a problem with this. It's a maybe one day. And I get that. We should plan for things. I'm not against that. I'm really not. But our hair's on fire kind of mentality for something like this is unwarranted.
And it's 10-acre zoning. It's not like it's 1 acre, like my house has a well, next door neighbor has a well, they have half an acre, next one. You have wells on 10 acres, 10 times.
19 out of 535 municipalities is not an emergency to bring to our little town.
You're really speaking in ways that are just very unrealistic, because no one said it's a
We
catastrophe.
were told it was
Listen-
local areas, and we were in the minority,
Yeah.
we should be catching up with our neighbors.
There are many towns that have it, and to keep things the way they are, protect the values of our property, I think that's what the Environmental Commission was trying to do.
Spent a lot of working
If
hours
you guys
looking.
want to sit back and wait for emergencies and react to emergencies, that's up to you.
There's
That's
no
one
word-
thing we don't do in this council. We've done all that infrastructure, we work with the police, we work for the fire department. We
All right.
work with all of them to put together
Here's-
roads and plans. You know what, that's an unfair.
Here's my solution to the problem. Every year, the Board of Health, we get the number for wells that have a problem, and if we see increase in wells having a problem,
There's
then
no,
we react.
there is no code, there is no legislation in this community that requires any reporting other than someone took a permit. That's it.
That's right, they need a permit to drill the well.
But there's no reason why they're doing the well.
And they also
There is
have
no
to do it to
information
cap
on
a well.
There is nothing. There's no provision in this area. Some towns, I think, do have more data collection, but we do not. So you're not gonna have any early
Then
warning.
maybe that's what they
Anyone else,
should advise them, how to
say?
do better data collection.
And
All right,
perhaps that is
instead of-
feedback
Well,
that you-
So
all
I
I'm
think
saying is, if this is gonna be sent back to planning, which I'm totally against
Me too.
myself.
No, I don't
It
want
comes to one of these,
this is
I want
done.
this information because this is actual data. And if they challenge this data, I wanna see their data. I don't wanna see that, oh, he's a hydrologist, that's great, where's your data? I wanna see the challenging data,
All right, so at this point now, governing body,
like Mrs. Kramer brought in.
are we moving forward, or?
Let's vote on it. I don't want to move forward with
I
this.
don't
We
think there's a
wasted
reason to
enough
vote.
money in this town on this
Unless you
thing.
wanna do a vote, Mayor.
We would have to.
Time and money,
It's
a lot
up
of
to
time.
the
Right,
government.
our
I spent-
time and
I
money.
spent hours of working time
Yeah.
looking into
Look
this.
at all this, it's crap.
Jack, will you do a roll call?
Well, first you'd have to get a motion and a second.
Okay,
There's no motion.
no motion? No motion?
Will this come up again? Because I want to do it so it doesn't come up again. What do we need to do?
You
can't do that.
Anything can come up
You,
again.
you can't,
You can't do that.
you can't bind a future organization to this.
All right, so at this point, there's no motion. So, We move on. Okay, ordinance amending the temporary sign regulations.
Can I just check a question?
Yeah, this came from, oh, I'm sorry.
Jack, I keep talking about a strategic plan. Help me through the mechanics. Theoretically, I can get these guys to convince them to sign on to a strategic plan where we want to hire a strategic planner and put together a volunteer committee. Work me through how we would do that. Would it come under the auspices of the planning board? Would the...
How does that differ from the master plan?
What's the objective of this committee?
That's correct. What's the difference in the master plan?
I think there's a significant difference with the master plan. The master plan would be a piece of it. We have, there's so many moving parts right now that in my opinion, face us as a town. One is an illiquid mountain, and I'm not sure that...
I'd like to learn more
Who
about that.
says it's a
because
liquid, though?
I haven't seen
Then all the data says it's not.
No,
The
no,
data
wait,
says
no,
it means real estate.
wait, I'm talking financially. I'm not talking well water, I'm talking financial.
Well, the market has changed from what people might have been used to, but I
Dramatic
have-
change. in
Sure,
values.
if people keep crying there's no wells up on the Bernardsville Mountain, it's gonna get even worse.
No,
It's gonna get even worse.
and to Mike's point, you know, yes, let's assume that the appetite for $5 million homes is significantly
That need
changing.
massive improvements and updating.
But that's going to require residents to then, maybe they are going to subdivide, maybe they are gonna look at it. I'm just saying, that's a the fact that it is changing is something that needs to be taken into consideration.
But it's 10-acre zoning.
Right,
The chairman of the planning
People
board
should be
pointed
able
that
to
out.
do with their property, if they have 50 acres and it's theirs and the zoning allows them to break it up in 10 acres, they should be allowed to do it. Unless someone wants to come in and buy it for open space, or someone wants to put a group of people together and say, hey, let's buy this all up, if the town can't do it. Right?
I think Mike's just saying we need to roll that into part of the
Yeah,
discussion.
like for instance, Mike, the Somerset Hills School District, in the past, I want to say 15 years, has done 2 strategic plans. And it's, the question is, the big issue is, where are we and where are we going? We have low-income housing we have to deal with. We have, one is where you're going to put it. That's huge. You have downtown that needs assistance. I'm not sure what kind of assistance, but with vacancies and parking. So my thought is to create a strategic plan where you hire a strategic planner reporting to the strategic planning committee, all volunteers. And then there'd be maybe, I'm just throwing numbers out, maybe like 5 subcommittees, one dealing with parking, one dealing with redevelopment, one dealing with slumlords, and maybe areas that the town needs to take a look at, ball fields, open space. So it would be a holistic approach to where we are and where we're going. And in addition, theoretically, I'm on the mountain and you're gonna go put a well in, and you're Rodney Dangerfield from Caddyshack, and you show up, and your anchor is denting my boat, and you're putting in 2 swimming pools, and it's like, hey, I don't care about your well. My point is, it's a theoretical issue, but it's something that at some point may need to be looked at. So coming full circle, there's the big issue. My question to Jack is, would that come under planning board, under?
Well, what you proposed is broader than a master plan, but many of the elements you described are actually optional elements in the master plan that the planning board could add, and I don't think they're all part of. One is and these are some of the elements that may be included in the master plan, a utility service plan, analyzing the need for and showing the future general location of water supply and distribution facilities, community facilities plan, recreation plan, conservation plan, an economic plan element considering all aspects of economic development, sustained economic vitality, and it goes into greater detail. So the planning board could cover a lot of those things through the master plan by adding additional elements. If you want to go beyond that, I guess the council could, if it wishes, create such a committee and retain a consultant.
And I think your timing's right here now that we're, going to start interviewing.
Yeah, I'm not-
and reviewing that plan.
Yeah, I'm not saying we make this decision
Yeah.
tonight, I'm just throwing it thrown it out as a concept, because we, I think from a town perspective, we need to look at certain things.
So don't you think you're stepping on a planning board's foot? Isn't that their role?
You know,
Maybe you just need to reorganize the planning board a little bit different in terms of what they're looking at. and
Well, they're
directing
working
a
this
little
year on
bit
the new master plan, so
Yes.
they're full court press this year. I mean, maybe they would welcome some help, but maybe it's something that you offer to them. Would it be
Maybe
worthwhile?
form
Would you be okay
committees.
with it? Would you want somebody from the planning board on that commission?
And actually, Bonnie.
I mean, it's something to ask the questions. I want to be positive.
right, because I mean,
A long time ago, Morris County did something called Morris 2000. That was probably about 15 or 20 years before the county hit 2000. And a lot of municipalities participated, and the county, really, it was a forward-looking survey of needs, expectations, where things are going to go. With the advent of the internet, we heard it tonight, we have a very active, growing business in town, which has a storefront that doesn't make any money, but that is how they market and promote their business.
and with a guy with a lot of energy.
Primarily a service business that is doing components, but most people would just assume if they're doing it themselves, or, they're gonna not be going to local stores, because local stores can't keep the inventory, they can't compete on the prices and things like that. But they can compete on service, and people will pay a premium for good service. So the whole economy has changed drastically in the last 20 years, driven principally by the internet. And, things have changed a lot. People's habits have changed. You have a lot more people in households. You've got people using takeout foods and things like that. So yeah, there are a lot of changes. But if we did a extensive survey, perhaps, to find out what people are thinking and what their expectations are, maybe that would actually feed into this whole process. And at least give a framework for what people are telling them they want. Because normally the most successful ventures are delivering something that people want, as opposed to just saying, well, this is what we think everybody wants.
Agreed.
It's a good starting point, and the planning board can certainly tap into that kind of stuff. And there's certainly a lot of highly qualified people that are very good at doing those kinds of studies.
I guess my issue with having the planning board, Mike, is that being on the planning board, that board in and of itself is exhausting. So adding something else to like my plate down there.
Well, I'm just saying that you offer to them, and say, hey, we'd like to put a committee to take some of the weight off of you guys. Do you have one or two people that want to be part of it? We have some very talented, high-energy people in town that want to, solve problems.
And everybody.
Which I don't have a problem with.
Everybody
think
has
anybody here
different
has a
interests. Some
problem.
are business interests, some are.
Yeah, absolutely.
interests.
I wish we could lower rents.
Oh, you mean business-wise?
Business-wise.
Residentially, you wanna raise
Yeah,
prices.
there's nothing we can do.
I should have
Well,
asked that
there
gentleman,
is something
what's
you
the
can do, but
difference
you
between
lose your tax revenue.
his businesses and
A lot.
everybody else's, because his are full,
And it wouldn't affect it that much. Federal
The-
tax base.
right?
And the answer is they're almost all service.
What?
I said
They're all
the
service,
They're
yeah.
almost all service.
That's what I was thinking.
It's been a service economy since
Sure,
the
yeah.
beginning
Yeah,
of
nineties.
this century.
Yeah.
Everything shifted.
Yeah.
But anyway, Ken, we can talk more, because we're on that joint
Sure,
committee.
sure, as we'll be interviewing in a couple weeks.
Maybe they'll be receptive. I'll put something on it.
Yeah.
All right.
Another thing was, we talked about years ago, is uniform look throughout the community.
Right.
Yes.
And everything's kind of hodgepodge.
Almost like an architectural review.
Yeah.
Point to it, where if you're gonna put specific business here, you gotta.
They conform to a certain
conform
look,
to it, Yeah.
which a lot of towns have.
All right, I think
All
Jack
right.
had something on the temporary signage.
Temporary sign, 10E. We have a revised recommendation from Jeff Price.
Yes, it came from Jeff Price, and I wasn't sure whether anyone had seen it, so I asked Anthony to put it on for discussion as opposed to introduction. And you can see the changes he proposes by respect to underlining on the draft that's included in your packet. He proposes that temporary signs be allowed for 14 rather than 21 days. He said that he just moves the permission of owners and took away the ability, I believe, to post signs in Olcott Square.
Jack, any sense as to what was driving his recommendations?
I have no idea.
Want to have him come to the next meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd just like to know the problem he's trying to
I don't
solve.
understand the logic here.
Yeah, we'll have him come to the next meeting. If he's available, if not, the meeting after.
I tell him it's not closed session.
Yeah, we can ask him about sidewalk sales. I thought we were-
No, because he's looking to change yours. He's specifically saying, let's go from 21 down to 14.
All right, lost control report. Michael, you already addressed some of that, I believe?
Yep.
So, comments on lost control report?
No, good.
Seeing none, move into the second open session. Anyone from the public wishing to be heard, second open session? Council members? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session. The contract negotiation, anything else? Ralph?
Yes, I have.
Personnel matter?
Yeah.
All right, and will we be coming out?
Well, just let me just consult with Jeff for a second.
Okay.
Okay, no, Mayor.
All right, so we won't be coming out of closed session for any action. Very good. I am so thirsty today.
Technically,